Welcome back. It's your man, Tresvon Pratt with AIM, always improving the mind. Sorry for the slight delay, but you know everything happens in perfect time, and I had to share some love with some brethren out here, some of my brothers out here. I just had to go. I had to go share that love in person, man. So it is on me. I take full accountability for this delay. It's not a technological delay, even though my technology is still acting a little shoddy right now. Uh, here we are. For those that didn't hear me, and I came to bring you guys some more power people, man. It's the Power People Live, where we do interviews with people who I deem as powerful, somebody who has a message. And you know what's interesting about that? Every person has a message. Every person has a message. Everything that you've been through, everything that you've gone through, you've learned something from it. You have a purpose in this world, right? And it just sometimes it takes another person to be able to bring it up out of you. Well, this next guest of mine, we don't have that issue. This man, this man did not, this man did not require assistance within his journey, although he accepted assistance. We're gonna dive deeper into that. I call him a wordsmith. I consider him a spiritual leader because he does not back down from the inner work. We reframing the word shadow work because people think that you're supposed to get rid of the shadow. No, that is a part of you, and you are a whole being. We will uncover all of this stuff, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's good stuff. Oh man! Without further ado, I think I've held the people waiting long enough, right? I think I've held the people waiting long enough. I want to play around with some. I want to play around with some sound effects. Let's see. Who do we have coming into the building? Give it up for my man, Mr. No, brother Wesley Muhammad.
Peace, peace, peace. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, bro? What's up? How you doing, man? Tell me something good.
Man, I would not complain. You know, it's easy to say I'm not going to complain, but I will not complain. It's not going to change anything if I'm not going to do anything about it. So
Mm,
I have nothing to complain about. I just see what needs to be done. You know,
mm.
we'll get into that. We'll get into that, bro.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's what I'm talking about, man. So I consider you a wordsmith and all of that. And y'all will see. Most of you, if you've been tuning in, if you've been watching and commenting, if you've been in the comments, then you have seen I am Mr. West. You have seen some of his comments. You have felt some of the power just from behind the scenes. So you could imagine what's about to go down now. It's been a long time coming, but like I just said, everything happens in perfect timing. Nipsey also said perfect timing seems like, always seems like we're too late, but hey.
Definitely always on time, bro. I appreciate first before I really say anything, of myself. I have to start all things in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. I do bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I like to greet you, brother Trey, and your listening and watching audience as well with the greeting words of peace. We say in our ancient original tongue of Arabic of Assalamu alaikum. And if you've never heard that particular saying, I am simply saying peace be unto you. We live in a world where chaos is the norm now.
Right.
We all are looking for peace. We all are looking for some type of solace. So I just would like to wish you all peace as well. So I definitely, again, appreciate you extending your platform to me. We talk a lot offline, and really none of this was expected. I don't move with expectations personally. I just strive to help. So I'm definitely appreciative. I'm honored and I'm humbled that you were seeing something in me that you would like to share. So I'm definitely thankful for that, and definitely, as I always will say, and you probably will hear it throughout this entire interview, all praise is due to Allah,
All praises
because
due to
I don't
Allah.
take any credit for any of it. I feel, and you've shared this on numerous times as well, that you're a vessel. We all are vessels for God. We God works through men and women,
Mhm.
and once we really get an understanding of that, we realize that all the praise and all the credit, all the glory belongs to God. Because without God, none of us would be here. We
Come
will
on.
have nothing to say. We will have nothing to do, and we wouldn't have people to serve if that is what we do as well. So I'm thankful, I'm honored, and I'm looking forward to how this conversation goes.
All praise to Allah. All praise be to God. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
love it. I love it. I love the and we're gonna uncover a lot. I got questions though. So I see a lot of the Muslim brothers. You're part of the NOI, the Nation of Islam, right?
that's correct.
I see a lot of them with the bow tie. What does the bow tie represent?
Well, we were given the bow tie to signify being distinguished, right? To separate ourselves from the norm, to really show a different class of civilization. Specifically, we're businessmen. You may see
Mm,
us out with the paper. We're not paper boys.
mm,
We just use the paper as a way to be able to engage our people, provide them with the word. Our paper, which I'm speaking on the Final Call newspaper, which I would encourage and employ us all to support the Final Call newspaper, and understand that it is not a Muslim paper. It
mm,
is your paper. It is a paper with not only just spiritual content, which it does have plenty of that, which we all need some good word, to get our day going. But it also has current events in it as well, health and beauty tips. We talk about how to eat to live. That is something very near and dear to all of us, and
mhm,
striving to be able to extend our lives, be able to have a better quality of life. So that newspaper is our staple product. That is something that we all should be supporting, but just understanding that it's not just a Muslim paper. It's not just for Muslims, which we'll get into a little deeper throughout this
mhm.
conversation as well. But it is for us, it's for our people, and it's for anyone. When we go out with the Final Call newspaper, all walks of life are interested about what the newspaper has to say.
Yeah.
Be surprised where you will see different people of different backgrounds. You'll see white people, you'll see black people, you'll see Asian people. Anyone will see that newspaper and want to find out what's on the inside of it, whether they've seen it before or not. They're interested in it, and that's even more reason for us, specifically us black men and women, to want to find out what's on the inside of it as well, because if others are seeing the value of it, why aren't we seeing the value of it? So I would
Mm,
encourage us all just to support it. I mean, that's really the basis of everything that we are about, is unity, coming together. One of our ways to promote being unified is putting our dollars together. That is something that, as a community, we don't do often enough. There's sprinkles of it in the community where we may come together and start a business, or come together for events, or come together for fundraisers, but we that should actually be a norm for us, especially nowadays when we realize that no one else is coming to save us. We
right.
have to work together. We have to save ourselves. And one of the ways that we save ourselves is by collectively bringing our money together. Group economics. That is something that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in that profound book, Message to the Black Man, the economic blueprint. Pulling our resources, finding 6 to 8 like-minded individuals to come together and do something good is what we're about. To really go back to the original question,
Mhm.
we are businessmen. We don't just sell the paper. Many of our brothers and sisters have businesses of their own,
Yes.
but we don't allow that to take us away from going after our people. It's actually a means in order for us to get closer and be able to help our people, and really demonstrate what it is that we talk about. So like I said, we'll get further into it, but that's really what it is. It's a signature. Whenever you see the bow tie, you associate that with the Nation of Islam. So it's definitely a signature. It's a brand statement, but most importantly, it's a distinguishing statement, just to show us as well on us striving to rise and get out of that dead state that we've been put in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about, man. See, we haven't even fully started yet. And I'm already feeling the power. And like I said, uh, not to try to be selfish, but I do these power people lives. I do these interviews. I do it to be able to share my platform, spread this love, this power to the world, all this knowledge, wisdom, opportunity, experience, what I'm saying, life. I do it to be able to share it with all of you all and, to boost whatever I can and promote whatever I can. But I really do it for me. Because I am forever a student. If you always improving, you always learning. And
Absolutely.
one of the things my brother here says is if you're not growing,
You're dying. There's really no other way around it. And that was a great layup, brother Trey, because that really is it. Like the it's three words that I strive to live by. Is think, learn, grow. If you're thinking, you can find an opportunity to learn. If you're learning, you're creating an opportunity to grow, and anything that's not growing is dying. And
Mm,
that really could be your mindset. It can be your finances. It can be your relationships. It can be your health. It can be anything. If you're not growing it, if you're not taking the necessary steps to learn new skill sets or learn more about yourself so that you can grow, you're ultimately contributing to your downfall.
right.
And once we kind of put it in that particular perspective, we realize how important it is to be actively involved in our own self improvement.
Mm,
And that's really the big thing for me, which self development has been something I've been talking about as well. But just coming through this iteration of where I am now, understanding that improvement is really what it's about. Development is one thing. Development is just that process of change, right? But improving on who I am as a person. There's complacency in our community. Sometimes
mm,
we may, get a specific career or a specific position within our career, and we can get comfortable. We
mm,
can get to a certain point where we feel like, well, I made it. I got out the hood. I got some money in my pocket. So I don't need to work as hard. But there's always room for improvement. Something that is said commonly, everyone, the biggest room in everyone's lives is the room for improvement.
mm,
And regardless of whatever it is that you're doing, whatever you've accomplished, there's more that you can do with that. Even when it comes to, we were kind of talking about this earlier today about impact, right?
right.
We can be making impact, but we can improve on the way that we're impacting. We can improve on our methods that we go
Yes.
about getting and maintaining impact as well. And if we're not actively looking to do that, eventually the impact will lessen over time because we're not doing the needed work it is to continue to improve as we continue to grow. Because as we grow, as we engage with different people, we're going to realize that the method that may have worked for this brother or sister may not work for the next person.
Mm,
So if we don't constantly look for feedback or take feedback based off what is happening in our engagements, and we're not improving on the things or those opportunities that we have,
mm-hmm,
we'll find out that the impact that we're looking for will lessen. Then the satisfaction that we have in going out and serving people, we begin to lose that fire. We begin to lose some of that passion, and that then leads to us hurting other people, because not
mm,
necessarily from a physical standpoint, right? But
right.
when you're in like a position of servitude where you out striving to help the community, when you're not being filled up with what it is that is you're getting in return for helping people, which is that seeing that smile on somebody's face, or seeing that person transform or grow and become a better version of themselves.
Mm,
When you lose that, you begin to clam up. Now you back away from the community and look at all of the people that you're not impacting.
mm,
That's them. You're hurting them. You're doing them a disservice by you not being involved and you're not continuing to strive. So that's where improvement is so important, specifically self-improvement.
mm,
We have a study course which we do on every Friday, which I would encourage anyone who's watching this to come out on any Friday um, to their local mosque or study group in their area, and join in that study course of self-improvement, the basis of community development.
Mm,
I know you're big on community, but we can't
absolutely.
have any community if we're not working on ourselves. We can't have any community development if we're not working on ourselves. If everybody is working on themselves within a community, that
Mm,
community automatically gets better,
mm,
right? If I'm not focused on pointing my fingers at you, if
mm.
I'm looking at myself, because whenever you point your fingers, those other fingers are pointing back at you. But if we don't recognize what it is that we need to do with ourselves, then we'll never advance as a group. If I'm only looking at your flaws, but you're looking at my flaws, so we just point at each other. I'm creating animosity with you and vice versa. We're not getting anywhere. Now we're divided. Now we got that friction going on. But
Mm,
if we're working on ourselves, if we're constantly trying to see where can we improve, we're figuring out what are our triggers, what is our weaknesses, even what our strengths are, and how we can expound on our strengths, and how can this help better the community, we can get to a better place. And that's why it's so beautiful. And that's, I got, this is the kind of book that we go out of, and just understanding as well that anything that we involved in is not exclusive to Muslims, registered Muslims of the Nation of Islam, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
about unity, right? Like we're not doing any religious gang banging. We're not trying to find our differences to find out, what we can point out is wrong. It's about coming together because we all have the same common enemy. We all have the same common condition, though one or two of us. And I'm saying that from a small scale, relative scale, right? A few of us may have a better life than others, but if all of us are not in that same condition, then ultimately all of us are not in a good condition altogether. It's kind of
Mhm,
like our athletes and celebrities, right? Many coaches will look at LeBron, look at
mm.
Michael Jordan, look at Jay-Z, look at Beyonce. They doing okay. Look at Kevin Hart. They're doing good. Yeah, but that's a small percent. That's the 1%. If the other
Mm.
99% is not doing that, that's not normal. They are considered exceptions to the rule, right? But once it becomes a norm that everybody is able to carve a path and be able to get elevate from the condition that they are and that they are in and raise up to a higher level, that's when you can say, okay, these people have now graduated from where they were and are now in a better condition. But if one or
Mm.
two people, if 5, 10, 15, 20 people, even 100 people out of the 50 million black people in North America, if they're not, if that small percentage of 100 so-called celebrities or famous people or those that have reached a certain level of
Of
financial
benefit.
success,
Mhm.
does not mean that the other 49,999,000 aren't in a bad condition, right? And then that becomes the conversation typically that we think that just because a few of us have gotten ahead, now we've all gotten ahead. No, if you're not, if this brother and sister that's in the projects is not living good, it doesn't matter how good this one or two people that's at the top is doing well. Specifically, if those people at the top are not going back and striving to help those people get out of that condition, or at least elevate from where they are to a better condition and on the track of being able to get up further. Because not everybody wants to be a billionaire, right? Like that's not
Right, right.
necessarily realistic, but all of us want peace of mind. All of us want to be able to go home and
Mm.
know that we don't have to stress over everything. We don't have to stress about where our next meal is coming from. Are we drinking clean water? Do I have transportation to get from point A to point B? Do I have a roof over my head? These are basic necessities of life that if we don't have those, it's hard to even see the grass being greener on the other side.
Mhm.
And that's really a reflection of our condition, right? And it's all about unifying and understanding that not focusing on our division, but focusing on our unity is what's going to get us to the next level. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb or a nuclear bomb, right? That's
Right.
the one thing that we haven't tried. We've tried everything else. We haven't tried unifying on a bigger scale. Like I said, we may do it in pockets. We may do it from a street fraternity perspective. We may do it from a Greek sorority or fraternity perspective. We may do it from a political stance in certain areas, with certain groups to be able to come together. But as far as us as a people as a whole, we have not tried to come together as one yet to see what change can be made. And that in itself will be the catalyst that will get us out of our condition. If we can just unify and realize that we have more power together than we have apart, then we'll see a change happen pretty much overnight.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Miss Meaty. Meaty Hands. That's my cousin. And my cousin. Hey y'all. Hey, shout out to Miss Meaty Hands with the Hands RVA nonprofit foundation right here in Richmond, Virginia. She says, "Oh, I need him for my class." And this is pivotal. I have not discussed it with you yet, but she was looking for local authors, so we're going to get into that. This is a local author. This is he has published his own works. Hello, and yeah, you talking about power here, man. So absolutely, if you need them for your class, all links, all contact is in the description. And I'm gonna tell you, she has a layup for you too, bro. I mean, you know, perfect timing.
That's right. That's right. You know,
Perfect timing, bro.
everything happens when it's supposed to.
Mhm.
Personally, we don't believe in any coincidences in Islam. Everything has a purpose and an aim, right? Aim, that's a layup for you, brother.
Yes,
Um, there's an aim and purpose in everything, specifically in us as human beings. We all were created with a purpose.
yeah,
Just like the sun, the moon, the stars, everything that you see all has a purpose. This camera that I'm looking at
yeah.
has a purpose, right? So everything that we experience, there's a reason for it. It may not appear to be what we want it to be. Like, we in
Right.
my book, the 3 Ps, the keys to having better days, right?
Mhm.
Perspective is important, right? That's one of those P's, peace, positivity, and perspective.
Mm,
And when we understand that whatever we're going through compared to what someone else may be going through probably isn't as bad as we think it is.
mm,
Another element of it as well, that certain things that we feel that are bad, that is bad, certain things that we feel are like a bad day. Like me personally, I don't believe that there are no bad days. There may be bad moments that
yeah.
we've allowed to take over our day, but there are no bad days. And really, when you think about it, years down the line, you're going to look at that bad moment and realize that that really was a learning opportunity.
Mm,
So if you can't learn from it, would not say if you can learn from it, if you actually find the lesson in it, you realize that there was no loss, there was no failure, there was no setback. There was really just a setup for you to get to the success that you're looking for. That's just a stepping stone for you to go forward. And that's one thing that I've always um look to be able to keep in the forefront of my mind, that there is no bad thing, right? There is no um when it comes to life, I should say. Now there are things that are bad. There are people that do things that are bad, and I want to make sure I give context to that as well. But as far as perspective and looking at certain things the wrong way, we may look at a certain failure that we may have, like we may want it to achieve a certain level of success. And if we don't reach it in a specific time frame, we may look like, oh man, I failed, or I didn't do that. That was bad for me. But ultimately, if we zoom out, we may realize that were we really prepared for the success?
mm,
If we had received the success, how would we handle it? Right? I've been in situations where certain job opportunities, right, that I was looking for, that I felt like I was qualified for. Like on paper, on the resume, yeah, I'm qualified. But was I really qualified internally to handle what was going to come behind that, right?
mm.
And if I'm focused on the fact that, oh, I didn't get the opportunity, they looking over me, or they discriminating against me, when in all actuality, it could just be something I need to develop within myself, which is why self-improvement is so important, right?
Hello.
If
Hello.
you work on yourself, and think about that, there's no professional development without personal development. If I get better, my environment, the way I look at things get better. Everything around me begins to elevate because I'm doing more better. I'm doing better things within myself, right? I become a better version of myself, right? And
Yeah.
then when you think about this, right, and I'll put it this way, and I'll close on this point, and excuse me because sometimes I do get a little long-winded, but
It's your time, boss.
one of the things that is very vital, right, is understanding that nothing is wasted, right?
Mm,
When you do good, right, regardless of what may happen, whether somebody appreciates it, whether they reciprocate it back to you or not, God does not waste the work of those who are doing good, right? I may be paraphrasing, but that's what it speaks on in the Quran, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allah does not waste the work of the workers, right? So if you're just doing good for the sake of doing good,
Mm.
because many of us can get to a position where we're doing good because we want something in return, right? You know, we treat others the way we want to be treated, but sometimes we say that and we really saying, "Well, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna give you this glass of water because I want you to give me a glass of water."
Right.
When in all actuality, I'm giving you a glass of water because I want someone to. If I'm in need, I would want someone to give it to me. But I'm not looking for that instant gratification. That because I do you a favor, that I'm looking for you to do me a favor, right? I'm
Absolutely.
doing good for the sake of doing good. I'm doing good because in my nature, that's natural to me. It's natural for me to do good. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we have 14 billion brain cells, and all of them were created to think right.
Mm.
So if we were to just be able to be by ourselves, right? In our condition right now, we have so many influences. So when we look at our young people, when we look at the world and what the news portrays to us, and we see what's called, you know, black on black crime, right? Which is really
Mm-hmm.
just proximity killing. Like black people gonna kill black people because that's what you're around. Asian people gonna kill Asian people because that's what they're around. White people kill white people, but they don't talk about that. The propaganda may say black on black crime. But ultimately, we're influenced by the things that we see, the things that we think, the things that we hear, the things that we eat.
Mm.
All of them go together, right? But if we were to be separated, which in the Nation of Islam, that's what we teach, separation. Separation is so important, right?
Mm.
Whereas if we were able to just be by ourselves, we would naturally go back to our nature, which is righteousness, right?
Right.
Naturally. The reason why it's so hard now is because we have so many influences having us do other things. It's actually considered fair seeming to do the wrong thing. The Quran speaks that Satan, the devil, makes evil fair seeming, right?
Mm.
So it's easy to do the wrong thing because you see everybody doing it, right?
Mm.
I'll give the example, and I say this because I was influenced by it, right? I used to smoke weed every day, right? I
Right.
used to drink, you know, I used to do it. And this one thing why I appreciate this conversation with you because, and we talked about this when we was kind of preparing for this conversation. You've been able to actually see me at different iterations of my life, right? You
Absolutely.
seen me when my hair was long. You seen me when at the beginning of me striving to be able to do a podcast and to have conversations with people starting businesses and things like that, right? And then
Right.
where I'm at now, right?
Mm.
I was influenced, right? I was doing things as a way to be able to escape reality, right?
Mm.
And once you get to a certain point, you get tired of doing it and you realize that if I just change my environment for a little while, certain desires that I have just go away naturally,
Mm.
right? This is where like I would say like a spiritual quarantine is important, right? You sometimes you
Mm.
can't change your environment as far as like let me just pack up my things and move, right?
Right.
Sometimes you just got to change your conversations. Sometimes
Mm.
you can change the people that you're around, and sometimes if you can't change your location, you can't change the people that you're around. You can change the way that the conversation that you having with those people. Once you start to do that, the wrong people will begin to leave your environment compared
Get
to
your
the
favor.
right people will come into your environment, right? Just because you're changing the way that you speak, you're changing the way that you move, you're changing your decision making, right?
Mm.
So once you be able to not isolate yourself physically, but if you can isolate yourself from not indulging in certain conversations, certain choices, certain foods, going to certain things that you may have done routinely, right? Like a lot of us, we're creatures of habit as a human. You typically gonna do what you do that makes you comfortable or what you enjoy. But
Yeah.
once you make a shift or you make a change and you start doing something different, everything else starts to shift along with you.
Mm.
It's cause and effect. That's the beauty of that teaching of cause and effect. That
Mhm.
a lot of the things that we see is just an effect of the decision that we made, right?
Mhm.
Thoughts, everything starts with a thought. Every like we're in a room, this platform, this camera, these lights, this all started in somebody's mind, right? It
Mm.
went from a thought, someone spoke it, then they did something about it, and now it's reality, right?
Mm.
So the same thing when you want to change your reality, you gotta start thinking different, start speaking different, start doing different things. Your reality will automatically shift from that point forward.
Yo, hold on. And I will have more sound effects because that was wow. How he's able to encompass all of that. Wow. And
All praises due to Allah.
all praise to God. Yes, man. I love, and definitely picking up everything that you're speaking on, bro. Like, wow. Tell them, man, because this is what and we're not gonna harbor here because we got a show to go on. But this is what I be telling people about the type of isolation. Like everybody is driving on isolation. Everybody pick up a word and the word becomes trendy and everybody automatically knows what it is because you can use it in a sentence in a catchphrase. Like, okay. But if you're isolating just to escape, right? You're not reconnecting with yourself. And sometimes you get into that you do center yourself and you do become one with self. And then you like, I love myself so much, I'm not gonna put myself back out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're withholding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're not doing God's work. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like isolation.
Mm-hmm.
uh I like how you said it's more of a spiritual quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a spiritual quarantine, and how you emphasize how dynamic you can change your environment. It doesn't have to be physical. When I tell people change their environment, when you command a certain presence, right? It sounds boastful,
Mm-hmm.
but I tell people, and I hold this true. You cannot stay in my presence if you don't love me.
Come on.
You cannot stay in my presence if you don't love me. Either you will be forced to remove yourself,
Mm-hmm.
something would happen for you to be removed, or my presence will be removed somehow. It might be subtle, it might
Mm-hmm.
be gentle. I might, hey, you called me over here. Let me go focus my attention this way. But you cannot stay in my presence if you don't love me. It
Right.
is not allowed. God won't let that happen. God won't let that happen, man. So that isolation, that spiritual quarantine, is to be able to connect with self, and we gonna go further. We going past the surface here, and that's what I love about this. And I can't wait to get into more of the discussion, uh, because we not surface dwellers here.
Mm-mm.
Me and Mr. West, brother West, has experienced things, going through it, learned from it, and hey, I'm not ashamed of what I've been through, and I can tell you something, I can show you something, I can give you something, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I love. So we scratch past the surface. Our conversations, y'all be prepared. I hope y'all came and taking some notes. I already there's no professional development without personal development. That's a bar, because a lot of people, hey, it's just business, it's not personal. No, no, they're connected.
Absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
connected, you know.
Just to speak on that as well, as far as business is concerned, we're taught through the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that there were three sciences that were um, not taught to us,
Mm,
specifically coming out of slavery. Right? They taught us a lot of things, but they did not teach us the science of mating,
mm,
the science of business, and the science of warfare. Right?
mm,
So when you understand that business is warfare, you understand how personal it really is, right? Because
mm,
ultimately, when in business, it may not be bloodshed as far as I'm going to actually try to hurt you, right? But ultimately, I want the same customer that you want, right? And I'm just speaking from this world perspective as well, as far as the science of business, right?
mm,
Business is warfare. We're striving to succeed, and a lot of times when you're trying to succeed, and you're striving to be able to put food on the table, right? It becomes personal because it's like, okay, you gotta, what they say, you gotta eat what you kill, right?
Right.
And when you realize that you can't necessarily be the nice guy, you
Mm.
got to do business. And a part of doing business is understanding that there's competition, understanding that there's going to be elements put in place. I know from corporate America, right?
Mhm.
Everyone, the information is available to everybody, right?
Mm.
But it doesn't do me as a corporate capitalist. It doesn't do me well to let all of my competition know where to go get the information from, right? I
Mhm.
then have a competitive edge if I have the information and I know you don't have it, right? That's
Mhm.
warfare. When they have these board meetings, right? They're trying to look at strategies on how we can one up the competition. That's
Mm.
warfare. And I say that going back to why we weren't taught that, because if we were given the same opportunities coming out of slavery, we would easily rise above those that were oppressing us, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
have to stop you from knowing how to do business, because now that way you can do for self. I have to stop you from knowing to know how to do warfare, because now you actually can come take back everything that was stolen from you. And I got to stop you from knowing how to mate, because now you're not able to properly vet. You're not able to properly reproduce in a manner in which is going to produce more of your kind, right? You're now, so I'm stopping you from doing anything that's going to make you get back to your natural state. I can stay superior because I'm neglecting you from that which will make you equal to me. Because I have the I'm speaking from the standpoint of those who were withholding these sciences from us, right?
Mhm.
If I have these three sciences and you don't, I'm superior. The only way somebody can master you is if they have a superior knowledge than you. That's what we're taught, right?
Mm.
So once we balance out the scales, once I have a knowledge that is at an equal or greater than yours, you can no longer master me at that point.
Mm.
That's what makes that dynamic of a slave and a master something that is hard to really understand for me at this stage. But I never really, it never really settled with me of why were we not able to just rise up above them. It's because they knew something that we didn't. They either knew something about us that we didn't know, or that we didn't know something about them that they know about themselves, right? This
Mhm.
is why knowledge of self is so important. We're taught, and in this, with this study course is so self-improvement is so important, right? The
Mhm.
knowledge of self. There's three key knowledges that we all need, specifically the black man and woman in North America, right?
Mhm.
We need to have knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of the devil, or the knowledge of the enemy of God, right?
Mm.
The knowledge of self and the knowledge of God are one and the same, as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? The more you know about yourself, the more you know about God. What do you mean, Brother Wesley? Well,
Mm.
in Genesis, it speaks on how man was created in God's image and his likeness. So
That's
that
dope.
means we are a representation of God. So if the image, what you look like, right? We have the same physical features, right? Then
Right.
you got likeness. Now you're talking about the attributes of God, the same ways to be able to maneuver, right? Once I know more about myself, I know more about God. The more that I know about God, the more I know about myself. When I
Mm.
understand that, anything outside of that must be the enemy of God, or also called the devil, right? Once I know that, I know what I'm dealing with. At this point, no one can dominate me, because I understand that if you are not moving with righteousness, then you must
Mm.
be moving with unrighteousness. It's just, that's just what it is. Islam is mathematics, mathematics is Islam, right?
Mm.
So if it doesn't make sense, then clearly that must not be right.
Right.
Mathematics always can be weighed out, right? You can be able to define that. One
Right.
plus one equals two, no matter how you try to get to that problem. Just like we talked about this earlier, at the Rebuilding Men conversation that we had today, right?
Yes, sir.
You may say 3 plus 4 equals 7. This person may say 5 plus 2 equals 7. This person may say 6 plus 1 equals 7. This person may say 7 plus 0 equals 7.
Mm.
We're getting to the same solution, the same result, right? But it's mathematics. We're still able to define it. If
Mm.
I'm saying 3 + 4 = 9, and you can't show me how you got there, that's not math. That's what they say. The math not mathing.
It's math
You
and
see
not
what I'm saying?
mathing, baby.
So the same thing with ourselves, right? The more we get to know who we are, the more we know about other people, right?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
we can we can balance the scales, right? I can see, okay, there's something different about you compared to me. And now that I know that, I don't have to be so caught up about, is something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with you. I just know what I'm looking at.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's where having those knowledges, which is the basis for a lot of things, right? Once you really know who you are, you know your connection to God, you then can know what is trying to disconnect you from God, that
Mm.
enemy of God, or you can say that enemy of self. So that's another thing that that's why I love the Nation of Islam, right? For me.
Right. Right.
And I encourage anyone, whether you become a registered Muslim or not, right? We're
Mhm.
taught that every black man and woman are Muslims, right? A
Mhm.
Muslim is simply one who submits their will to do the will of God, to be
Right.
obedient to God. I think we all want to be obedient to God. Now, what you may call it, that's on you. I'm not here to get caught up in semantics and, well, I'm a Christian and I'm this and I'm that. Okay, if you're a Christian, that means you're one who is striving to be crystallized into the oneness of God. You want to be Christ-like, right?
Mhm.
Okay, what was Christ doing? Christ didn't say my will; he said thy will be done. He's speaking on. I ain't trying to do my own thing. I only say what he tells me to say. So at the end of the day, we speaking the same language.
Right.
But and it's systematic. It's a reason behind it. But we're finding ways to divide. Where you look at Prophet Muhammad, and I'm looking at Jesus Christ, or I'm looking at Moses. If you Jewish, you falling under these. Well, I got a different book. I got the Torah. I got the Bible. I got the Quran. Okay, well, once you understand that the Quran bears witness to the truth that's in the Bible, we believe in Jesus too. We love
Mhm.
Jesus. No one's throwing nobody away. We need it all. Because
Yes.
as Jesus said, the truth shall set you free. What truth though?
Mm.
Could it be that someone is deceiving us and making us argue with one another? Could someone be deceiving us about Jesus?
Mm.
Because one of the things that I think about, right? And for me, everything goes back to what is taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right?
Right.
The most dangerous thing that could ever happen is to be deceived about someone that you look up to, right?
Mm.
If you look up to Jesus and someone deceived you about what he looked like, the things that he said, when you think about the Bible has different versions,
Mhm.
not translations. Translating meaning that it was in one language and I'm gonna give it to you in the language that you understand. When you say this is a version, if this is the King James version, that
Mm.
means King James is gonna give it to you the way he interpreted. I'm giving you my version. That's like saying, well, I'm gonna give you the Wesley Muhammad version. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I'm translating it from one language to another. I'm translating it from one language to another, but then I'm adding or taking away what I feel needs to be there and what doesn't need to be in there, right?
Mhm.
And what we're taught in the Muslim program, which is why I encourage anyone to just get a Final Call newspaper, right?
Mhm.
Because on the back of that Final Call newspaper is the Muslim program, right? Let me just read it, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, this point right here about the Bible that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us, right? In what the Muslims believe. And this is where I'm coming from, right? This is the back page. I don't know if you can kind of see that on the light might
Mhm.
affect it, right? But right here, point number 3. We believe in the truth of the Bible, but we believe that it has been tampered with and must be reinterpreted so that mankind would not be snared by the falsehoods that have been added to it.
Mm.
So I reread the Bible. I got 3 or 4 versions of the Bible, right?
Mhm.
Because each one says certain scriptures a different way, right?
Yep. Yep.
So we want to get in, as you say, we're not surface dwellers, right? That's the
Right.
beauty for me and why I gravitated to the Nation of Islam, because it didn't allow me to be a surface dweller when it came to spirituality, when it came to who I am, right? Many
Mhm.
may say, oh, y'all hate white people. That's a surface level way of looking at things. Oh, y'all call the white man the devil. Well, when you know what a devil is, right? And then when you begin to look at the world and the things that have taken place, there has been some devilish activity taking place by somebody.
Yeah.
It ain't just no spooky thing. It ain't just happening just cause. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It would take someone that is very devilish to take a people who were minding their business in Africa
Mm.
and bring them over here. And this is the thing too, right? So I didn't know if I was gonna go this far into it, but we're taught in the public school system.
Right.
Slavery started in 1619, right?
Mhm.
When the documentation shows, and we're taught and reminded as well by we're taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, reminded by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that we were brought over here in 1555. From
Mm.
1555 to 1619 is when you've received the making of the Negro or the nigger or whatever you want to call it, right? There
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
breaking of a human being to make them into a servitude slave, right? To make them an enslaved person, right? That isn't talked about. That isn't taught, but it exists. When you
Right.
really dig into it, you get out of, like I said, surface dwelling. You just taking what somebody gave you and you just running with it. You'll find yourself losing a lot of the information that we need in order to get out of the condition that we are in, right? If you don't
Mm.
know where you've been and you don't know where you're at, you'll never get to where you're supposed to be, right? So
Mm.
going back and understanding, okay, we were brought over here in 1555 by somebody, and then we were broken and made into this person that they call a so-called nigga or Negro or colored person or Sambo, whatever you want, whatever you name you want to get it, coon and all this kind of stuff, right? It would take a pretty devilish person to do that. It takes a pretty devilish person to come to a land that they already see people on, say they discovered it, practically wipe them out and push them off to where they want to be, and then they say, "Down, this ours now." I mean,
Mm.
now that's not finger pointing. That's not to say that we hate this particular person. I'm just acknowledging that I understand what I'm looking at,
What has
right?
actually happened? This is a truth.
It's just actual facts. So that's not hate talk. That's not hate preaching. I'm just teaching the truth of what took place so that we don't allow it to happen again. The reason I say that is because there's other coaches who I went through very traumatic situations and they remind us on a regular basis so that it doesn't happen again. Right?
Right.
You won't find any place where with those who are Jewish that won't remind you of what happened in the Holocaust because they're not gonna allow it to happen again, right? But when we talk about what happened to us in slavery, oh now, oh man, y'all still on that?
Mm.
Y'all ain't grew up from that? Yeah, yeah, that was in the past. Yeah, but
Mm.
if we don't talk about the past, it's gonna continue to happen in the present and will continue to exist into our future. And when we
Right.
think about our youth, when we think about our children, right? And me being a father, I have a 6-year-old, she about to be 7. I
Mm.
have to debrief her when she comes from school. I
Mm.
have to make sure that when she's not at school, that I'm imputing some knowledge in her so that she's not going in here blind and understanding that just because you see these individuals in position does not mean those are the only positions on the board,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
So it's so important, which is for me, this is why I take it. I'm so passionate about the knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, the knowledge of the enemy of God, the knowledge or knowledge of the devil, right?
Right.
Because if I don't know this, I can't teach my daughter.
Mm.
I can't teach my daughter, then who's going to teach her?
Mm.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says that if a man won't treat you right, why would he teach you right?
Mm.
That's the question that we should be asking. Why do we put so much emphasis on this world's way of education as the only source of education? Why aren't we taking what we receive, analyzing it, questioning it the same way we question it when a black person tells us some information, right? Whenever a black person provides some information to another black person, we like, now where you get that from?
Right.
Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Why do you know that information? Why are they not saying that in school, right? But if a white person give you some information, you just take it. Like, oh, okay, well, it must be
Mm.
true. White person said it.
Mm.
Or I need to go get a second opinion from a white person to see if it's so these things are really, which goes back to our original thing. These things are why mindset is so important and why we have to renew our mind, as it says in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We will not be able to transform out of our condition until we change our mindset. It's 90% mindset, 10% action or physical, right?
Mm.
Once we can fix our brain, once we can start thinking right, we get back to our natural self and thinking right. The
Mm-hmm.
physical part is easy.
Yes.
But as we focus on the physical part, we want to look good. And that's it's nothing wrong with looking good, right? We all want to look good. But if we focus on looking good, but we ain't thinking right, the way we look will deteriorate instantly,
Mm.
right? You can't pass down your clothes. Your clothes ain't gonna make your children look good because ultimately they still need to eat. They
Mm.
still need to be able to survive. They still need to be taught. But if you got your mind right, if you got some knowledge in your brain, you can pass that on to your child.
Hello.
So that's where I'll leave it at that. I'm not 100% sure if I really laying on the point that I wanted to land on, but I feel like that's what needed to be said, just an understanding about the importance of growing and developing, right? Like we just got to get from under that surface thinking and just taking things for what they are and really looking into them, really looking into ourselves, because that's ultimately what it is. Anything that's going on outside of ourselves is a reflection of what's going on inside of ourselves, right? It's the devil within self that we need to eliminate first. Because once
Mm.
we get rid of that devil that's within ourselves, any devil or any person that's acting like a devil, because a devil is not necessarily just a white person, right? You
Right.
can be a devil too. It's based off what it is that you're focusing on and what you're feeding, right?
Mm.
Are you feeding the God within yourself or you feeding the devil within yourself?
Mm.
Are you submitting to the God within yourself or you submitting to the devil within yourself? Because ultimately you can do the same thing, right? And we can then manifest or put expression to that lower version of ourselves as well, which we see that too. We see that every day,
Yeah.
you know, us answering to our lower desires and acting on our lower self
Yeah.
against one another. You see what I'm saying? Nine
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, when you see a black man buying a gun, they're not buying a gun to get somebody, to go against the police brutality. They buying that gun to protect themselves from their brother, so-called protecting themselves from, because ultimately it's because we don't see each other as brothers, right?
Hello.
We don't see each other as brothers and sisters, so we don't realize that we all one family, that we all come from the same source, the same essence. You
Mm.
see what I'm saying? So now I'm seeing you as an enemy because you got something that I want, or you look like something that I feel like I could never be.
Mm.
So now I got to take you away because you reminded me too much of what I could be.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's really what, for me, that's what comes down to the root of it, is understanding that, we just have to be able to look within, learn more about ourselves, stop taking everybody else's word for who we are, and go look into it ourselves, and then act upon what we find out about ourselves.
Mm. 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 And that is why this live is titled God Within Self. Because so many, when you imagine God, when you pray up, you praying outwardly, you praying outside of you. God is within, right? And if you can focus on God and righteousness and do the things that fulfill the spirit, you know you'll be walking strong in faith. You know you'll be walking steadfast, purposefully, and there's no regrets there, right? There's no lag there. You ain't gonna have a perfect life. Ain't no such thing as bad, but you will come across some challenges, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that God ain't with you. Them challenges are there to help build you,
Mm,
and the representation matters because one thing that I learned from Brother West here is he said, if you don't value your own life, how can you value somebody else's?
right.
How can you value someone else's? And then people like, bro, I'm not a lick, bro. I'm representation.
Hmm.
I'm representation. Don't get mad at me and try to take away from me because you've seen the work that I put in, that you are self-doubting, that you don't think that you could do the same or more.
Hmm.
You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Don't run up to attack me. Run up to talk to me.
That's right.
You know
That's
how
right.
many people want to help each other? Like, I want to help my people. My people want to help my people. but we're stuck in this confused state of mind to think that this is how it is. This is how it's supposed to be. Wrong.
That's right.
And that's why we're getting back to, like you said, that spiritual quarantine. You will realize, like, no, I want to do for self. I want to do for others. That's your nature. That's your
Hmm.
instinct. This violent temperament, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not you. It's
That's right.
there for protection. That aggression, that resiliency, that's our pure power.
Hmm.
That's there for protection and longevity. That's not there to cause harm to one another.
Hmm.
You feel me? So,
That's a
brother
beautiful.
Wes,
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, boss. I want to ask you a question. Who are you? Who is brother Wesley Muhammad?
Um, when you asked me this question before, when we was preparing, many things come to my mind um, of who I am, right?
Yes,
But
sir.
ultimately, I'll say this. Um, for one, I'm as you know, as you said, I'm a brother.
Mm,
That's the first thing for me. I'm a brother. I'm a registered Muslim in the Nation of Islam.
yes.
Um, I'm a father.
Mm,
I'm a son. I'm those things first. Then I get into, I'm an author. I've written two books. One on self development, another one on financial development as well. We'll get into that later on in the conversation.
yes.
Um, I'm also a home ownership advocate, um,
Ooh.
which what that means is that I advocate for specifically us, because the percentages shows that we are deficient in owning anything really, but specifically we all need to own a home. We need to own a
Mm,
home. I'm not saying own a big house, but we do need to own a home, because that is a center and a base and an easy way for us to build, which is, this is a trendy word as well, generational wealth, right? It
come
starts
on.
there. If we can own an asset like a home, it becomes easier to build wealth in other manners as well. When it comes to business, when it comes to equity and being able to pull money out of your property or just simply pass it down generation after generation, this is a way to make sure that your next generation does not have to start over from scratch. It's an easy, tangible way. Once you really understand your finances and have a goal to do it, you can become a homeowner, and then ultimately your family can become homeowners as well. So I'm a home ownership advocate. I'm also a foreclosure coach as well. I help
Mm,
individuals avoid foreclosure. I've been in that industry for secularly for 15 years. I work for a number of banks, specifically in that area of foreclosure and loss mitigation, helping people avoid that outcome,
mm.
and being able to educate them on what to look out for, what type of questions you should be asking, knowing your options, and then being able to execute on those options properly so that you can get to the desired resolution that you want to as well. So yeah, that's just a few things that come to mind of who I am, but most importantly, I'm just your brother. That's all that I really want to be at the end of the day.
Now you say it's just a brother, and you started and ended with that your description of who you are with just a brother. Can you explain what does that mean? What does it mean to just be a brother? To
Yes, sir. So um, I always go back to my foundation, right? To the
mm,
lifestyle that I'm subscribed to, right? And I say lifestyle that I'm subscribed to because Islam is not a religion, right?
mhm,
Islam is just an entire submission to the will of God. That's anything that God created. That is what they're doing. It's just a one word, is an Arabic word, Islam. Whenever you see a dog being a dog, a cat being a cat, flowers being flowers, oranges being oranges, that's Islam. They're doing what they were created to do. We all were created to submit ourselves to God, right? We all want to be obedient to God.
mm,
And a part of my obedience to God is being a brother. Um, we're taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we first must be brothers, right? If I'm
right.
not a brother to you, I can't give you anything of any value, right? I don't
Mm,
value you. I'm not truly valuing myself, because if I don't see us as a family, again, it goes back to that family thing. If I don't see you as a brother, if I don't see our sisters as sisters, right?
Right.
I can't help you. I'm not able to do it from a righteous or a genuine standpoint, right? It's all about showing love, and that's really where it comes from as well. And just understand our similarities, where we're what we have in common, right? We all come from the same place. We all were created,
Mm,
right? So once I understand that, right, that we all come from the same essence, we all have the same nature within us, right? We all were created by God, regardless of what you may call them, right?
mm,
We all there's only one God. We can agree on that part, that it can't be a whole bunch of different gods here. It's
mm.
got to be one. We may just have different names for him, but it's all one God, and we all came from him, and we all are striving to be pleasing in his eyes, right?
Right.
So with that being said, then we all in this together. Jesus said in the Lord's Prayer, say it this way: Our Father. Okay,
Mm,
so if it's our, that means all of us got the same father,
mm.
right? So understanding that, then you just my brother, you my sister, and once I can see you from that perspective, I don't see you as an op, I don't see you as an enemy, I don't see you as a threat, I don't
Mm,
see you as lower than myself or higher than myself,
mm.
right? That's why it's so important for me, and my understanding is that brother first. I just have to be a brother first. If I can be a good brother, I can be all these other things that I listed. I can be an author, I can be a father, I can be a son, I can be a good Muslim, to you, and within myself as well. I can be a home ownership advocate because I want to help you. You my brother, you
Yes.
my sister. I want to help you out. I
I
can help
love
you with
you.
your home. I can help you with your, avoiding foreclosure, because you my brother, you my sister, and I want for you what I want for myself. We're taught in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad, and we're reminded of this as well by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that a good Muslim wants for another what he wants for himself, right?
Right.
If I
Right.
want you, if I want good for you, I want good for me, but it really is another level of love when I want good for you. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying? So that's what I strive to do. I just want to be a good brother at the end of the day. All these other titles are cool, you know, it really doesn't matter to me at the end of the day, because if I don't genuinely love you, I won't be able to live up to those other titles. So the best title that I could live up to is being a Muslim and being a brother, and that's really all that I want to be. I want to be pleasing to God, and part of being pleasing to God is looking out for my brothers and sisters as well.
Mm. Now I love that because that's something that I think is like the love is the foundation. Love is the foundation. Well, I do all these things out of love. You're supposed to be ubiquitous and unconditional when it comes to love. And that love of God, God within self, it means you love yourself. Huh? This is another reason why nobody in my presence can stay in my presence if they don't love me, because I
Hmm.
love myself too much.
Hmm.
God loves me. I love God. All of that love cannot be abolished. It cannot be tampered with. Only thing that can happen is you can remove your presence.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We even covered on the fact that sometimes hate is confused love.
Hmm.
Like it ain't that that person hates you; they just don't understand what's going on, and out of that confusion, anger can arise.
Hmm. Hmm. It's
You
something.
know,
It's something that you said. I don't mean to cut your wisdom. It's something that you said, in reminding about that hate, right? Like a lot of times we hate things that we don't understand. We
mm,
hate things that we don't know how to express the love. So it's easy, especially in our condition that we in, it's easy for me just to hate you, or just to write you off, than for
mm.
me to try to really understand you or ask you questions, because it takes a level of humility for me to ask you what it is that you're doing, or why you're doing what you're doing. Like, why do you just, why do you smile? Why are you
Why are you
smiling right now?
smiling so much,
Right?
man?
Like that, it takes a level of humility, because for one, I have to be vulnerable to understand it. For one, why is that it's really attractive, because there's the opposite there, right? Opposites attract. So if
Mhm.
I'm noticing that you're smiling a lot, it's probably because I don't spend a lot of time smiling. And I
Mm,
want to know why you are so happy. And when I ask you why you so happy, I'm also indicting myself to ask myself, why am I so upset? Why am I
mm.
so sad? Right? But once we can get to a situation where we're humble and vulnerable enough, transparent enough to have these type of conversations, we'll be able to really unify that much easier. And I think that as well about, understanding that God within self. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, anytime you see a black man or woman, you're looking at God.
Hello.
Now imagine understanding that and really living that, right? It wouldn't be so easy for me to pick a gun up and raise it to a I'm not gonna raise the gun of God.
Right.
If I'm really looking at, okay, that's God right there. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm
Right.
not. I can't do that. I can't put no harm. I can't harm that brother or sister. I can't raise my hand against that sister or that brother because I'm looking at God. And
Mm,
how would I feel if I did that? And what's going to happen because I did that? I'm gonna now think about the consequence. A little different, but if I'm looking at it, and that's why language is so important. We may get into that as well
mm.
because if I just say, "Oh, that's just a nigga," oh, anybody
Yeah.
can kill a nigga. You see what I'm saying? But if I say that's a god, nah, you're gonna have it's a different weight now.
Mm,
It's a whole different weight that's put on it. So that's why, for me, that's why the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, are so powerful because it changes the way you look at everybody and everything. And once you can change the way you're looking at everything and everybody, you're now able to handle people better, right? You're
mm,
handling yourself better because you're looking at yourself better now. And people may say, oh, you brainwashed. We may need our brainwashed. You
mm,
see what I'm saying? Because it can be clouded. It can
mm.
be. It has been dirty. We've been given a lot of information that isn't conducive to living a righteous life. So we do need to get cleaned up. And a part of getting cleaned up is cleaning up our thoughts, cleaning up our minds. So we may need our brainwash. And I don't mind saying that, yeah, Donald Mr. Louis Farrakhan washed my brain. Because I looked at myself very low. I had a
Mm.
very low self-worth. I had a poor self-image. Right. A lot of times, and many of us may suffer this, but I can only speak for myself, right? We may do a lot of things in the name of humility. We
Right.
may do a lot of things in the name of serving, but ultimately, you can't love anybody no more than you love yourself.
Mm.
And if you don't love yourself, no matter how much you're striving to show love to other people, it's either going to come across disingenuous,
Yeah.
or it's going to be a certain limit that once you get to that limit, you no longer going to show that love no more. There's something they're going to do that's going to cause you back. Oh, dad, that's why I don't mess with niggas. That's why I don't mess with black people no more. See, I knew it. That's why I can't work with them. That's why I can't do business with them. But it's because
Yeah.
you don't love yourself. But if you really loved yourself and really gave yourself grace, you can give other people grace. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, everybody's not perfect. They trying to figure this thing out too. So yeah, they may charge me a little bit more than I'm used to charging when I go to McDonald's. I'm gonna pay a little bit more for this burger over here, but I'm
Yeah.
helping my brother out. I'm helping my sister out. I know that if I keep circulating that dollar with them, eventually that price may come down. But even if it
Mhm.
don't come down, I'm keeping the dollar with us. You see what I'm saying? And if
Yeah.
we look at it, if we can change our perspective and not look at each other so low because we're looking at ourselves so low, we can change the way everything moves, and we'll then begin to respect each other more. We'll then be able to get the better respect from other people as well, because ultimately, everyone's watching us.
Mm.
Everybody's waiting on the black man and black woman to stand up.
Come
But
on.
if we keep shooting each other down, not just physically, but verbally, if we
Mm.
keep putting each other down, why do we get upset when other people join in and want to put us down too? If we not speaking life into each other, why do we think someone else gonna speak life into us? Right?
Hello.
So that's where other coaches can come in our community and set up shop and take our money and send it across the way, because we not occupying that space.
Mhm.
We not bringing that same. We can do those same businesses. We can bring that same infrastructure in, but we get mad at everybody else while they doing it, and then we also don't stop. We allow it, but then we also don't stop doing it when we notice that it's hurting our community. We don't stop it. We
Right.
keep feeding into it because, oh, well, the price is right. It's cheaper over here. Yeah, it's cheap over here, but it's also cheapening you. It's cheapening the value of your community because they just taking your money and spending it with themselves. Whereas if we spend it with ourselves, at least if you got a cleaners and I got a restaurant and this person does homeschooling and this person got the car shop, if I keep all this money here, we can now grow and expand versus I'm giving this money to this culture. I'm giving this money to this culture, and they don't give
Mhm.
nothing back to me. They just taking. We're just on losing in everything. But that's the importance of being able to look each other the same way the most honorable Elijah Muhammad encourages and teaches us to do. We look at each other as God. We
Yeah.
would start respecting each other that much more, and we wouldn't think so low of each other, and we won't think so low of ourselves in that way. And it's not a superiority thing. Is we
Right.
gotta we gotta get out of this state. This is such a low state. This the language that is used by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is to wake us up and stand us up so that we can be equal. Because right at a certain point, especially when he was among us
Mhm.
physically, right? In the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, we looked at the white man way up here.
Right.
So the language that was used was to balance the scales, right? So
Mhm.
now as we in 2024, we understand what's going on, right? That's why for me, I don't necessarily understand why at this point in churches there's still a white Jesus when there's been countless information of showing that Jesus clearly couldn't have been white, right?
Right. Right.
But there's something that we're comfortable with there. We
Mhm.
still don't view ourselves that no, we couldn't, no, Jesus
Mm.
couldn't be no black person. You see what I'm saying? Like I say,
Mm.
I can believe a lot of things. Yeah, he was a good man, but I can't believe he was black.
Mm.
Even though the Bible gives a description of him.
Mm.
It says that his hair was like wool, feet like burnished brass, eyes like fiery red, and all this. But yeah, he still can't be black though. You see what I'm saying? So there's certain as a mentality that we have to get out of, and there's a perspective of self that we have to graduate from thinking so low, which is why it's important to know to really get a true history and knowledge of who we are.
Yeah.
Because if we're only looking at ourselves that we came from slavery, and I'll say this and close this point so we can move on because I don't want to belabor the point. But like an arrow, right? If
Mhm.
you the further you pull the arrow back, the further that arrow can go, right?
Right.
If
Right.
we're only going back 469 years, we can't go that far. But if we
Mm.
realize that we are the original people on this planet Earth, we can go all the way back to the beginning.
Mm.
We can go all the way into the infinity of time, right?
Mm.
So it's just understanding that what is our trajectory is based off of what we know and who we allow to teach us, right?
Yes.
If we're allowing those who don't care anything about us to teach us and to tell us where we're gonna go, we only gonna go as far as they allow us to go.
Mm.
When we really understand that we are the builders of civilization, we've built everything. I seen something on Instagram today, and they
Yeah.
would say, "What's the black man's story?" The black man invented the traffic light. The white man invented the traffic ticket. The black man invented the light bulb. The white man invented the light bill, right?
Yes.
But if we keep thinking that we just came from slaves and that we should be thankful and grateful that we had this opportunity where we can get a job and we can drink out the water fountain, and we can go to the grocery store, we can buy the PS5. Yeah, we way more than that. We way
Way
more
more.
than just rappers and basketball players and track stars. Those are great things to do, but we got so much more in us. But we got to
Absolutely.
really tap into it, and we can't tap into it if we're only going by what the guidelines that they give us. You know what I'm saying? We got to think outside the box, and that box that they've given us is too small, and we've grown out of the box, but we still seem to try to stuff ourselves back into it.
Right back
So
in.
yeah,
Right back in. One of the things that we say here at AIM, always improving the mind, is that you can't have community without communication. And
that's right.
how I developed that, and then I know it's my purpose. I share this with people, my people, and a lot of times it get thrown by the wayside. Is I got tired of just not being able to speak to one another,
Mm-hmm.
right? We talk about this self-reflection, this like how you automatically view the next person. Huh? Your
Right.
brother, your sister, we supposed to show love to, you know what I'm saying? Even if, a lot of people, and I'm gonna do a segment on that myself another day, is like how are you a faithful follower of God
Come on.
if you're not loving?
Come on.
If you're not loving, if you automatically is, distant and isolate and don't trust automatically, right? Like to the point where we can't even say hello to one another,
Mhm.
then I cannot say that you are being faithful, right?
Mhm.
I can't say it, because that's the foundation is love. If you're acting out of love, the righteousness will be there. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? Like you might have to make some tough decisions within it, but it's righteousness within there. You're not always gonna be right, but the righteousness is there. So
Mhm.
uh, I say that because one of the things that I noticed is with my sisters and me emphasizing you can't have community without communication. When it comes to the women, the black women, it's like a tug of war sometimes just to be able. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to instill a foundation of trust that it is okay for a black man and a black woman, even if they're complete strangers, y'all are familiar.
Mhm.
Y'all could say hello to one another without the interpretation or expectation or something. Like there's been times, and I know this might be simple. I know a lot of us have experienced this where it's like I'm trying to get your attention because your gas tank open, and it's like,
Mhm.
nah, I got a boyfriend, and it's like,
Mhm.
uh,
Right.
okay, but you about to run out of gas. He gonna come pick you up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
I'm not trying to. You got a boyfriend. I got a wife. I ain't trying to
Correct.
come on to you. I'm looking out for you. You're my sister,
That's right.
right? And for the fellas, like we talked a lot about cause and effect. That is an effect from a cause
Mhm.
of we the leaders, right? If we the
Absolutely.
leaders, then that is an effect from the cause of us approaching them a certain way to the
That's
point
right.
where that's their automatic response. So that's a response. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So how about we approaching them?
Mhm.
So I go at the guys for the communication, and one of the things that I tell them is you have to turn off your sexual eye.
Mm.
You got to turn off your sexual. You got to learn how to turn off your sexual eye because this is limiting you.
Mhm.
This is belittling you,
Mhm.
and this is holding you back from opportunities and everything. Like we can't even work together because just because we're able to have a good conversation, just because we're able to laugh in one another's presence, just because there is no tension, it's
Mhm.
automatically viewed as flirting or
Mhm.
promiscuous or what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that also causes us not to communicate. So I loved how you emphasize, brother and sister. How what is something that you could tell the audience about like how a brother could view a sister and turning off that sexual eye?
Oh man, that's a beautiful question. One of the major things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Viewing her as who she truly is, right?
Mm.
We're taught that she is the second self of God, right? So understanding that she is a chief helper of God with her womb, right?
Mm.
So her womb contains the true laboratory of God. That's what God is able to do his work
Mm.
because within her she's able to produce another God, right?
Right.
So understanding how sacred that is, right? When you
Right.
can understand how precious and how sacred and how divine the woman is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't really leave a lot of room for you to look at her objectively, right? We're
Yeah.
taught as a Muslim you should lower your gaze when you're dealing with the opposite sex. What that
Mm.
means is that you don't spend a lot of time making eye contact because there's an exchange of energy that happens when you're looking into looking in each other's eyes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you lower your gaze. You don't spend a lot of time in her eyes. If you having a conversation with her, just have the conversation and move on. But say it, be strong about it. You still gotta do what you're supposed to do. And one of the things, like within the nation, you have to be careful about when you giving the greetings. And as I opened up, we say assalamu alaikum. The honorable minister Louis Farrakhan said you don't use that greeting, which is really a prayer. It's a
Mm-hmm.
prayer. You're praying for peace for that person. Then they return it back to you. Wa alaikum salam. So now they
Like
they
Islam.
giving you that greeting back, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
use that. You don't use God's greeting or his or prayer as a way, as a ploy to get in. So you don't say it
mm,
all sultry. You don't say it all soft, assalamu alaikum, and trying to
mm, mm,
maneuver. You using God to do something that you want to do of yourself. It's important to understand the gravity of what you're doing, because you as you stated, the effect, right? The
mm,
reason why many of our sisters have a certain level of disdain to brothers, right, is
mm.
because of something they went through in their past. Many of our sisters have been tampered with when it comes to fathers or uncles or cousins or
Mm.
brothers, right? Many, and not necessarily tamper with physically, but also emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Also from a standpoint of just not being there, neglect, right?
Mm.
There could have been other boyfriends or past relationships that they had with men that caused them to be standoff.
Yeah.
Um, the way the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it like this: the innocence of a woman, once that is taken away from her, is basically only God can give it back to her. I'm
Mm.
paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. Only God can return that virtue back to her once it's been stolen from her,
Mm.
right? This is why it's so important to look at her in the way that she should be looking at, as the second self of God, right? The
Mm.
Quran says that the woman is only 1 degree. If you look at like a pie, right, and you look at 360 degrees, if you look at the distance between 1 degree, she's that much, it ain't that much of a difference between the man and the woman, right? So
Mhm.
we can't have this superman concept of that we just so big and bad, I'm a god and she not a god. No, no, no,
Mm.
no, she's a god too,
Mhm.
and that's, to me, that's why language is so important. I'm not gonna get into the really the deepness of God and goddesses, and things like that. But we're
Yeah.
both gods. A god is one that has power and force, right? She got
Mhm.
power and force too, just like you do.
Yeah.
And once we understand that we have to come together, right? And we're so much powerful. When you think about the Egyptians, right? And
Mhm.
now um when I say they, I'm talking about like those grave robbers. I'm talking about those who are trying to hide our true identity and be able to try to delete our history, right?
Right.
Wherever you saw a man, the woman was right next to her, next to him, right?
Every time.
Every single time. So understanding that and realizing, okay, now if you were trying to do that to our history, okay, that explains why there's a battle of the sexes and right now, where you got women feeling like, well, men can't, only thing he can do is buy me this and do that and do that.
Mhm.
And men saying, well, only thing she bringing to the table, and like we got this battle that's going on, specifically the black man and the black woman, when ultimately we are two of the most attacked
Mm.
individuals on the planet Earth. The black
Yes.
man is one that is trying to they're trying to eradicate the black man. They have certain language now, toxic masculinity and
Mm.
things like that, right? Like me personally, I don't subscribe to, it's either masculinity or it's not.
Mhm.
Once you put that toxic on there, it's no longer masculinity,
It's not.
right? Same thing with femininity, right? You can't have toxic femininity. Those two words don't go together. It's an oxymoron, right?
Right.
When a woman is actually in her divine femininity, right?
Mm.
You automatically are going to be in your masculinity. And vice versa. If you really are walking in your divine masculinity, she gonna automatically submit to her natural nature of being a divine feminine, right?
Come
The
on.
problem becomes when we're not being masculine as men. Now
Mm.
she has to, out of survival, now she has to raise up and be something that she's not, right?
Yes.
And then we get upset that, oh, why she's so aggressive and why she had no choice for two reasons. There is a elimination of the black man, whether it's from the prison, where it's from the drugs
Mhm.
and being able to, what do they call it, effeminate the black man and make
Mm.
make masculinity seem as something that's threatening, right?
Mm.
Specifically
Mhm.
black masculinity, right? That's a threat to this world, right? So
Mhm.
once all of these things are causing the attack on the black man, specifically the black child, the male child, when you talk about, um, you know, uh, the misdiagnosis of autism, when you
Come
talk about
on.
special education and these things that's starting to, when you're now over medicating or
Mm,
improperly handling the male child, and now they're raised in a certain condition where they can't truly be masculine or be men or even feel as if they can speak, right? And that's one
mm,
thing that I am big on, and I'm learning more for myself, how to properly express my emotions so that I don't have these um I put it this way, I think we may have talked about this before, right? Emotions is not like the color wheel where you got these three primary, you got happiness, you got sadness. No, it's a spectrum of
mm,
emotions, right? And they
mhm.
all, based off your understanding of them, they all have a certain purpose and a place. But if we don't
Right.
understand them, we can't rise above them. And that's something that we're taught, rising above emotions into the thinking of God, right? It's not that we're negating our emotions.
Mm,
As a black man, we do need to know how to manage them.
yes.
Meaning that, okay, this situation, though it is upsetting me, I don't need to express that anger in this way.
Mm,
Maybe I can transmutate this anger into doing something for self. I can now change this energy. Okay, I'm angry about it. Let me do something about it. Not do something from a violent standpoint, but let me do something about why this is making me angry. Why
yeah.
is it making me upset? What work do I need to do within myself and understanding my triggers so that I don't get back to that? What you're saying, communication. What do I
Yes.
need to say to my sister for her not to keep pushing that button?
Mm,
You see what I'm saying? Instead of me just verbally abusing her, physically
mm,
abusing her, emotionally abusing her, or physically neglecting her,
yes.
emotionally neglecting her, right?
Yes.
Mentally neglecting her. Is something that we have to work on, especially like I said, those interpersonal relationships with one another, specifically the black man to the black woman, is so important because our power is in the black family.
Yeah. Come on.
Many
Come
of our issues as a people is because we're not together. We go back to unity, right? The black
Yes.
man not with the black woman is the reason why the black child is growing up confused. Many of our young boys don't know if they should wear a purse or not. They don't know if they should have fingernail polish on or whatever because they've been around their mama and their aunties all their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling and expressing to that young man everything that a man shouldn't be because they based off their own emotional toils that they've been through. So they projecting on that boy, not or that young man. Let me put it that way. They're projecting on that young man everything they don't want a man to be. So he just thinking in his mind, well, I don't want to be that. If he hurt my mama, he hurt my aunt, he hurt my sister. So I don't want to be that kind of man. But in all
Yeah.
actuality, that was just their individual situation,
Yeah.
right? That should not be an umbrella for all men, right?
Right.
Which is why environment is so important, why language is so important, and also why we shouldn't always find an opportunity to express our trauma to our children.
Mm.
Because ultimately we end up passing down that trauma from child
Ooh.
to child to child. Just because we went through a bad situation, we don't say, "So, see, you acting like your daddy. Your daddy won't no good." You gonna act like, no, no, no. Let's back up a little bit. And that's why it's so important. And I say that more so for the men, right? Regardless of what that sister is saying to you or doing, we are the leaders.
Mm.
We have to be able to rise above our emotions and still set the tone and set the example. We're taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where there's no good woman, there was a no good man.
Hello.
So
Cause and
that's
effect.
talking about cause and effect. That's right. So if we are the leaders, right, that means we have to step up regardless of what's going on. And we may say, "Oh, well, she's just being emotional." Well,
Mm-hmm.
if she is, don't you be emotional.
Yes.
That means you need to acknowledge the emotion and then help her understand, communicate. And sometimes communicating means just listen. And a
Mm.
lot of times we want to be heard so much because this world does not allow the black man's voice to be heard. We
Yeah.
sometimes want to be heard at home so much that we don't listen to what she has to say.
Mm.
Right. So then that's another friction. So now you feel like you ain't heard, and she definitely feel like she ain't heard. So y'all both exploding, and ultimately the child is looking like a tennis match. You
Yeah.
feel what I'm saying? They don't know who. They just know, and ultimately they're gonna lean on the mother's side because the mother is. They're gonna naturally go to the mother. So they're gonna be looking at you as the enemy as a man. But then ultimately, not that you hide it from the child, but you need to
Mhm.
show the example of what it means to communicate and say, you know what, let me just listen right now. The
Mm.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that when one either the male or the female, right, the brother or the sister, when they up on the high note, the other person just need to play the supporting role. Let me just keep the beat going. They doing they solo right now. Let me just let them get that off. And once they calm back down, now we can reason. But while he or she is up here, that ain't the time for you to go meet them up there, because now this they're gonna want to go up higher. No, one
Mhm.
of us got to take the low, and one of us while they high, they got to let them get that off. Come on down, and then now we can reason. You see what I'm saying? And mainly
Yes,
it's
sir.
us. And I say again, it goes back to us. We
Mhm.
have to be willing to not be so verbally abusive in our language, even if it's not our intention. A
Mhm.
lot of people, and I say it this way, many people don't know our intentions. They know the way we made them feel, right? That's
Right.
what they're gonna remember us from. We all may have the best of intentions of all it is, but that's not what's going to be the lasting effect. It's going to be the way we made that person feel. It's going to be the words that we chose, even if we don't choose the right words, which is why language is so important, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not, it might be best for us to take our time and think about what we're going to say. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches that we should think 5 times before we speak. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that as well, right? And we're
Mhm.
reminded by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let me make sure I put that in the right order, right?
Mhm.
Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is just a reminder of what has already been laid down by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when you think about what you're going to say 5 times before you speak, right? Five
Mhm.
times before you act. If you just take that time to do that, you'll find yourself choosing better words each time you think about it. So by the time
Mhm.
it actually comes out of your mouth, it actually would be more pleasant. And then it's received better because you're taking your time. Your emotions are not causing you to react. You're actually responding. And that's the biggest thing about rising above emotions into the thinking of God, where you're thinking more mathematically, meaning that you're saying, okay, I want to make sure that I win the person, not just win the argument,
Right.
right?
Come on.
At the end of the day, I'm not doing no good by just proving my point. Maybe if I just listen and reason, she or he will get to the same point I want to get to. But ultimately, I want the person. We want the
Mhm.
person at the end of the day. So that's, like I say, everything for me goes back to the teachers and why it's so important about how the proper handling of people, right? That is not just about being right. Being right is doing the right thing. And
Mm.
sometimes doing the right thing is just being quiet and listening. Sometimes doing the right thing is just saying, you know what, as a man, though I may be upset in this situation, I'm gonna go to God. I'm not gonna take it
Mm.
out on you. I'm gonna talk to God about it. Then I can come back and revisit this situation with a better attitude, with the right words now, because now I done prayed about it. I done talked to God about it. I
Mhm.
done calmed down. And
Yes.
now, you know what? Actually, I understand where you're coming from.
Yep.
That though the way you may have said it may have rubbed me the wrong way, but what you still got some truth in what you said now.
Hello.
Women
Hello.
got an intuition. They see things from, a detailed perspective that we don't always see. And with the
Mhm.
way it come across may not be as logical as we think it should be, right?
Right.
But
Right.
ultimately it's still valuable. And if we can really look at her, and that's going back to what you asked me originally, right?
Right.
Really looking at her as the second self of God, right? Not the second self of man, of God. You see what I'm saying? She's looking for the God in you. And a
Yes.
lot of the things that she does that may rub us the wrong way, specifically the black man, is because she's trying to bring the God out of us, right? Some
Yes.
of the things that she challenges us on is because her standard is God. And if we're not living
Ooh.
up to that standard, it's going to rub us the wrong way because we haven't elevated to our natural state of where we should be. So
Mm.
sometimes we need to step back and take that critique. We need to take that feedback. We need to take that challenge and accept the challenge and rise up to the standard versus expecting her to understand. Well, we've been through. We've been through. No, no, no. Yeah, we've been through all of that. But you're a God, brother. You need to go within, go consult with God without, and get
Yeah.
up and stand up and do what you're supposed to do. Regardless, you still got to handle your responsibilities.
Mm.
Because you look at it from this standpoint as well. When you working that job, you're gonna do what you got to do to get that job done. So
Mm.
why wouldn't we take that same level of urgency when it comes to our relationships with our sisters,
Come
right?
on.
we got to still get the job done. Ultimately, we still got to handle our responsibilities. And our first responsibility is making sure that we're looking at her properly, handling her properly, and making sure that in doing so, we're setting the best example for the next generation, whether they're there or not. Because, and I'll end it on this, especially if you're dealing with a sister and she's pregnant with your child,
Mm,
that child is still listening and still receiving, even when it's in the womb. You might
yes.
think that, well, the baby ain't here yet, but it's picking up everything. And the reason I say that is because many of our problems that we deal with, it's traumas that we dealt with that our mother was dealing with in the womb, right?
Yeah.
Conversations we had. That's why, you know, we've been given a process by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I would encourage anybody, again, anything that I'm sharing about the teachings, you don't have to be a registered Muslim to go get it. Go
Right.
find the lecture series by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called How to Give Birth to a God. He
Mm,
speaks in that particular lecture series about the importance of when she's pregnant, making sure that she's at peace and feels secure. Because if she's in fear, if she's anxious, if you got a lot of shouting and yelling and you stomping around her, all of that is going into the womb. Even when she gives birth, those same chemicals that are produced from fear and anxiety is in the breast milk. And you
yes.
feeding that to your child. So when your child grows up and they anxious, right? When your
Mm,
child grows up and they're fearful, when they're not sure of themselves, it's because you are feeding that to her through the mother based off of the way you're treating the mother. So that's why it's so important for the black man to step up regardless of what we're going through. That's no excuse for us not to handle our responsibility, because it was all good when we laid down. So it has
mm.
to be that much more of an important to us when we stand up, after the fact. So that's what I would say as far as the understanding the sacredness of the female. She is sacred. She is divine, and understanding where she is in God's eyes is where we as men should look at her as well. We should take, as the Holy Quran says, take Allah's coloring, see things from the way God sees it. And if He sees her as sacred, then we
Mm.
definitely should look at her as sacred and treat her accordingly.
And treat her accordingly. Man. I can end it right there.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir.
Oh man, that is absolutely, man. You are 1000% correct, man. Thank you for uh not holding back that wisdom and sharing that in a sense of, cause and effect. Cause I know that goes over just saying stuff, the surface level stuff goes over so many people's heads. So many people. I'm gonna clip this live up after we done. I know it's gonna be a few 30-second, 18-second clips, and it's gonna be like, what he say? Nah, and it's gonna get misconstrued. But if you was to listen to the entirety, then you should be able to perceive what we meant by the woman is sacred and how to lower your gaze, turn off your sexual eye, appreciate. You play more of a role. And we're gonna have to discuss that, man. Shout out to Rebuilding Men, Paul DeBerry with the nonprofit Rebuilding Men. um, he does meetings. It's a men's organization. So us fellas get to come out and commute about this type of stuff. And one of the things that we're gonna have to talk about more is leadership, actual leadership, because it's not just follow me. I'm walking this way. You do what I say. Do what I say is not true leadership. Um, it's just it gets deeper. So, brother Wes,
Yes, sir.
what do you do? What is your passion? What is your purpose?
Beautiful question. I've my entire life I've been looking to figure out what is my purpose, right? I
I think
think
that's
that is a
beautiful.
that's a quest that many of us are on. I would say, in my experience specifically, um, I am very purpose driven, right?
Right, I see
I,
that.
I really want to know. Whenever I hear the word purpose, I automatically hear the word why. You know,
Yes.
so when you ask me what is my purpose, you're asking me what is my why?
What
Why
is
do I
the
get up every day? Right? And what I can say is that my purpose is to assist the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in raising the dead, and not from a physical standpoint. It's not like we're going out to the cemetery and yelling at the tombstones and get up, right? But from a spiritual standpoint, from a mental and moral standpoint, we are doing that.
Mm,
Whenever you see us, and when I say us, I'm talking about the FOY, the Fruit of Islam. When you see
mm,
those brothers in the bow tie, and we going door to door, we out on the street corners with the Final Call newspaper. That's what we're striving to do, and we're striving to raise the dead. And it's spoken. We read it in the scriptures about a resurrection taking place. We believe in the resurrection. We just don't believe in it from a physical resurrection. You know,
right, right.
there's not enough planet for everyone who's in the cemetery to come back alive and be on the planet, right? But
Mhm,
there is a resurrection that can take place, and I strive to be a example, right, of the
mhm.
power of these life giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that's the important part of the life giving, right?
Mm,
Because I was in the dead state, and I say this, I don't have it all figured out. Right?
yeah.
I'm
Who
I'm
does?
1 foot out the grave, brother, and I'm saying that to say that that's my purpose, just to strive to share my story, which is why I like this platform that you have and what you're striving to do, which is really share, or giving opportunities for brothers and sisters to share their testimony, really, right?
Yeah,
We've all heard the saying, you can't have a testimony without the test, right?
come on.
And I've experienced a lot of things in my life, right?
Mhm,
So-called bad, so-called good, right? I've,
mhm.
I've been around death. I've been around, situations that are traumatic, right?
Yeah,
Like I didn't had a lot of things happen. I'm not gonna go into it here. But I'm thankful, and that's why I'm always all praises due to Allah, because at any point throughout
yeah.
my life, I could not be here, right?
Yes, Lord.
We've all made decisions that we literally could be not here. So I'm
Mm,
thankful for it all. I'm grateful for it all. So when you ask me my purpose, why? Because I'm doing a disjustice or a disservice to my brother and sister by not going out and sharing what Islam has done for me, right?
mm,
Because if it wasn't for it, I don't know where I'd be right now, right?
mm.
I participated in drug use, right? Like I didn't go too deep, smoking coke and meth and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
I sipped lean for a period of time in my life. You
Mhm.
know, I smoked weed heavily, right? I drank, you know what I'm saying, for a while. To be
Yeah.
at a position right now where I don't desire any of those things, and that's how powerful these teachings are. Because once I made the decision to accept this truth, I was able to drop all of that cold turkey.
Right.
But it's because I found something that filled the void that I was trying to
Mm,
have these other things fill inside of me, right? So once and again accepted the truth, because my father been in the Nation of Islam since 1993, so I've always been around the teachings. I've known who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, right? I know who the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is, right?
mhm.
All through not in high school, but in middle school, leading up to high school, I used to do my book reports on Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. Always striving to find somebody black to do a report about.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt
Yeah.
Chamberlain, these type of people, right? I was always black, pro-black as they say. You know what I'm saying? But being pro-black don't mean I'm anti-white. It's just I just always love myself. I always love myself, meaning my people, right? So when
Mhm,
we get to my purpose, right? That's my purpose. I want to help give life to the dead, right?
mhm.
But in that as well, I'm passionate about helping people find that light, right? So for me, by the grace of Allah, my purpose and passion are aligned, right? Now, how
Mhm.
I express it, that may be different. I do music. I found a way now to be able to do music and still be able to inject the teachings in it. You
Mm,
know, I'd like to. I like to, I like to share my, I have a podcast, a Think, Learn, Grow podcast. So I'm
Yeah.
passionate about that because that's another opportunity for me to share what I'm learning and what I've experienced and be able to help other people. So I'm passionate about helping people and serving as well. That's for me, going out into the community and actually speaking. We was just in Baltimore last weekend,
Mm.
and to be amongst my brothers and going out into these communities. We in Baltimore, we in the so-called worst parts of the city, right? And be able to go and show them an example, right? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that you don't have to condemn a dirty glass. Just put a
Yeah.
clean glass next to a dirty glass and let them decide, right? So
Mhm.
I just strive to be a clean glass. I ain't saying that I'm the cleanest glass, and I miss today the best example of a clean glass to me is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? He's nearly 70 years on his post helping black people, right?
Mm.
Striving to teach and guide us in the right direction. And one thing that for me that and looking at him has helped me because when you're working with our people,
Yeah.
it takes patience, right? We're taught to take
Yeah.
plenty, right? Because we're dealing with our people, and we all have different things, we're going through different traumas, and we're so used to people coming and trying to take from us, whether it's so-called preachers, and they just want the money from us, right? You got people that's always trying to sell something to you. You got people that's actually literally trying to rob you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So when you're trying to bring somebody something that you know has helped you, you got to be willing to take plenty from our people because they've been through so much. So it takes a level of patience, and most importantly, it takes a level of love. You got to really love our people to want to help our people because
Yes.
everybody else does not, right? So for me, my purpose, my passion is just serving our people and doing everything I can to be able to help our people. And I do that through teaching home ownership. I do that through helping people avoid foreclosure. I do that through my books that I've written and strive to write some more books. I do that with just like I said, you spoke about rebuilding men, being able to be in conversation with brothers of different backgrounds. And like I say, it's all about unity for me, and whatever I can do, whatever I can share, I don't mind giving
Mhm.
whatever Allah has blessed me. I don't mind giving my testimony, sharing and bearing witness to what has helped me grow, what's helped me improve, and then also sharing where I still need to make improvements. Because
Mm.
that's another thing too. Like, we ain't fall out the sky. Whenever you see Alpha Y with a bow tie on and all that, just know that we are in that process of cleaning ourselves up too. You know?
Yes.
So um that's the beauty of these teachings, that is giving me a purpose bigger than myself, right?
Mm.
I don't do things just for myself. I don't. I mean, even on this platform, I'm always gonna give the credit where it's due. I'm gonna tell you where I got it from,
Mm.
because ultimately, I just want you to go where I can. I don't follow me. I'm following somebody. You see what I'm saying? Now, what you can do, we all in this classroom, as many of my brothers have shared, just bring your desk up next to mine, because we
Mm.
all learning. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So don't look at me as I'm way up here and you way down there. No, brother, we all in this together. I just want to, hey, just come where I'm going. Let's go. I'm
Right.
just gonna let you know where the water at. I'm going to get a drink too now. I ain't saying that I'm not drinking out that water fountain. I'm letting you know some water over here, and this is what it can do for you, because this is what it's doing for me. Let's go and drink it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm not here to force you to do it. I'm just gonna keep showing you what it's doing for me. You see what I'm saying? And what it's doing for other brothers and sisters that have come through different um, places in life where they thought they weren't able to get out of it, right? So that really kind of answers that's my purpose. I just want to be able to help our people get out of the condition, because the time is up, right? Like, it's
Right.
been, we done went through our time, right? The Bible speaks of the 400 years of us being in a strange land amongst some strange people, serving them, and then there's going to be a time when God would judge them, right? We're in that moment, in that time of judgment. The
Yeah.
only thing that's really holding that up is we have to come together, and we got to get out of our condition so that we don't get chastised, we don't get judged along with those who are being judged, right? So that's
Hello.
what gives me the passion, right? That's where I want to strive to do all I can to help give this teaching, give these words, this truth to as many of our people as possible, so that I can um, not have the blood on my hands, right? I know something that's helped me. For me not to want to share it, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna be blood guilty on that, right? So I just want anybody that I come across, which is why I appreciate your platform, because you're giving me an opportunity to speak to those that I may not get to speak to personally, right?
Yeah.
But I just hope and pray that anything that I'm sharing, all praise is due to Allah, and I'm getting it from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. These life-giving teachings, right? Life-giving and life-saving, because we've seen it time after time. Now, the world, the media, the movies and the shows, this ain't no strapping people down to the bed and getting them off drugs in that manner, right? It's all about, for me, understanding that when you see people like that right there, you understand
Mhm.
that I know what I'm dealing with. I know that I'm dealing with someone who just needs some help. They just want a hug. You see what I'm saying? And once you can understand that this thing is about just putting some knowledge in some people's heads. And once you give them the right knowledge, then ultimately they'll change overnight. They'll change their condition on their own.
Mhm.
The Quran, and I ended on this, the Quran says Allah changes not the condition of a people until they change their own condition.
I
We
love
got the
it.
power to change our own condition, but we just got to know. We got to have the right knowledge in order to do it. And that's what I strive to do. Just share what is helping me change my condition with those who also are striving to change theirs.
Absolutely. Putting that clean glass next to the dirty one.
That's all. That's
I
all.
love it, man. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So, what I want to know is, I believe there's like a aha moment, a switch where like somebody acknowledges,
Hmm.
you know, what was the aha moment? What was that? What happened that led you to realizing, your purpose is to give life to the mentally dead? What was the aha moment, if you will?
Yes. So there's really two things for me, right?
Hmm.
The biggest aha moment for me was understanding the impact of sharing something with someone that I'm actually living,
Mm,
right? It's one thing to give advice, right? It's another thing to live the advice that you're giving. Because going back to that clean glass next to the dirty glass, right? It's one thing I can tell you, your glass dirty. But when you got a dirty glass too, there ain't nobody paying attention to that. It has
mhm,
no, it may. So for some people, it may help them. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna work on that. But you have a far greater impact when you're actually living what it is that you're selling. You know what they say, practice what you preach, right? Like when you
right.
actually are practicing what you preach, it has so much more of a bigger impact on people, right? So being
Mhm,
able to say that, we got to love ourselves, we got to get knowledge of self, we need to get a better relationship with God and get a more intimate and personal relationship with God, right? But if
mhm,
I'm not doing it, why would you do it? Right. And the thing about it, no matter how good it sounds, if you're not doing it, it will show up.
it
People will
will.
know. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a difference for me to saying, the final call newspaper, this final call. But if you ain't never seen me out selling it, it'll be something different. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If I wasn't able to go and show you one, you see what I'm saying? Like it's a difference. You know what I mean? The same thing when it goes to my second aha moment, right? I was going through a situation where I was trying to tell my friends about certain things, and striving to change their life, right?
Mhm,
And I was having conversations with them, and they were good conversations. They appreciate it. They give you, the so-called kudos and say, I appreciate those words. I needed that. But
mm,
ultimately, that's only one conversation. One thing I've learned is that you can have an hour conversation with somebody, but you don't know what's going on those other 23 hours of the day,
right.
right? That could be influencing them in a different direction. So when I lost one of my friends, who went a contrary way, out of necessity. He got caught up doing the wrong thing, and didn't come out of it the way he thought he was. You know what I mean? That woke me up because I was having these conversations about cleaning yourself up and doing this and the third. But I'm having these conversations with you while I'm rolling up with you. You know,
Mm,
I'm just saying, yeah, you need to, do better and change this. And, there's other ways to make money and do all this and the third, but I'm not necessarily living what I am that I'm teaching you, or sharing with you. Cause that's one thing too. I don't really say I'm teaching anybody anything. I'm just sharing. And I could be sharing whatever, but if I'm not exhibiting what it means to do the alternative, right?
mhm.
That impact isn't there. And for me, for a long time, I internalized it as what could I have said
Yeah,
that would have been better? And
yeah.
ultimately, I came to that realization that there was nothing more that I could say. I was saying all the right things. I just wasn't doing them. I wasn't doing it, right? To the level
Right.
that they were looking at me to do, right? And one thing that I used to do a lot is run away from who I am. Right?
Mm,
The version of myself that you see right now, I've always been this person. I just buried them because out of wanting to fit in and pleasing other people, low
mm,
self-image, low self-worth, I buried who I am right now in who I thought I needed to be at the time because that made other people feel comfortable. But sometimes do and I think I might have said this when we was preparing for this, right?
mhm.
Our brother Kevin Gates, he said, sometimes doing the right thing is going to offend the wrong people. I'm paraphrasing, right?
Right.
So sometimes making people uncomfortable is what they need to change their condition.
Come on.
Sometimes you just gotta say the right thing, do the right thing, regardless of it being popular opinion or not.
Mm,
And another thing that Kevin Gates said as well that I appreciate is that I'd rather you love me for who I am than hate me for who I'm not. Excuse me, I'd rather you hate me for who I am, but love me than love me for who I'm not. Right.
yeah.
So like I understand that now. It's more
Yes.
power in me standing up on truth and being my natural self. We what 6 words that we're given, right, through these
Yeah.
teachings is accept your own and be yourself. I can accept you if I accept myself. I can accept you being yourself if I'm being myself, right? But who is yourself? Yourself naturally is a righteous Muslim, right? That's what we're taught here, right?
Mm,
Accepting your own, that means that regardless of what condition that you may be in right now, I accept you. You my brother, you my sister. So regardless of what you may be doing, I know that's not permanent
right.
because you're just not being yourself. You see, I understand that the condition that you were placed in, I understand that you were made other than yourself. So once I understand, I can accept you for who you are. Now I got to be myself. If I be myself, you can see who you are supposed to be as well, right? So
Right.
now I can now be better. I can now help you because now me standing on my square, me doing what I'm supposed to be doing, gives you something to kind of, okay, now you can see how far off or how much of a deviation that you may be on. And it's not for me to condemn you. I'm just letting you know, hey, you can do this too. Whenever we see brothers in the street and they say, "Oh, brother, you got nice. That suit look nice on you, brother." We always
Mhm.
strive to say, "We got one for you too."
Mm,
I'm just a reflection of you, brother.
come on now.
So regardless of what you got on, you know what I'm saying? I'm just reflecting you. So once and brothers, they especially black men, we're not used to compliments like that, especially coming from another black man. You're not used to a
Mhm.
black man complimenting you or looking at you from a perspective of love, right?
Yeah.
So when you're able to give somebody that love and you say it genuinely, me being myself, just naturally saying I'm just a reflection of you.
Mm,
Now you saying what? Oh, okay. Let me. I can think now. You gotta think about that. Oh, so that means I can put a suit on too. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I can put a suit on. I can put a bow tie on. I can be clean too. I can clean up. I don't have to be doing drugs.
Ah,
I don't have to be doing these things. There's an alternative lifestyle, and that alternative lifestyle that this world gives us, but an alternative lifestyle to what we're doing right now, which may not be wholesome, which may not be righteous. There is a righteous way of doing things that, regardless of the conditions, there's a way out.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? So that to me just kind of sums it up. When it comes to um, that aha moment,
yeah.
when I started to see that, when I started living it and sharing it, and the impact it has on other people, I'm like, yeah, I'm going down the right way. You see what I'm saying? Now I don't have that guilt anymore
Mm,
because it's one thing, like I said, it's one thing to say something and share with somebody else, but if you're not living it, and then they don't go down the right path, or they don't take their advice, you can feel a little guilt, or you can be upset with them. But I don't feel that, because I know I'm living it. And I know that if I keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, eventually they'll get it. And if they don't, that's on them. But the blood ain't on my hands no more, because
Mm,
I've shared it with them, and now I'm striving to be an example of the benefits of it. After that, that's between them and God. And I'm okay. I can be okay with that now. So that would be my aha moment. Like I said, those two different, they really kind of connect into one.
yeah,
But like I said, for me, seeing what can happen when you're not really living it, and how it doesn't have that same attraction power, it doesn't have that same impact as when you actually are living it and seeing and speaking it as well, and the impact it can have on people as well. Those two things together let me know that this is why I need to be doing what I'm doing, and this is why it speaks to me and fills that void that I had, and really helps me do what I really want to do, which is just serve, and that's what makes me want to continue to serve.
beautiful, beautiful, man. All praise to the God.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And I just, I definitely am in tune with all of what you're saying, but especially with if you're not walking it, I told you we're gonna talk more about leadership. If you're not walking it, if you're not practicing what you preach, if you're not willing to do, a true leader, I can't follow. Like, we all are students,
Mm-hmm.
all subscribe to some type of submission. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he who knows it all knows nothing. So you suppose, in order to improve, you got to learn. In order to learn, you got to submit. You have to
That's right.
acknowledge what you don't know.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And get it from some type of source. If somebody teaching you something, they're leading you.
That's right.
Come on now. Like, it's a simple concept. Let's not bash heads about it. Um, but what I realized is, and this is what I do, leadership does not bear a title. Mhm. So if you're in a job setting where, that's the manager, that might
Mm-hmm.
be the manager, that might be the boss, supervisor, whatever, CEO even, that don't make them the leader. Who's the leader in here? And I ask every time I get new management, everybody else, oh, these are all the problems. You need to fix them. This is that. When you come to me, you want to ask me, I say, well, before I ask you, before I tell you anything, or before I just lay all these problems on you, let me ask you one question. What's the difference between a boss and a leader? And if they can't tell me, then the conversation is ceased.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So but the ones who are leaders, I can come to you. I can talk to you. I can learn from you. I can listen to you easily, right? I can do what it is that you want me to do, because I know within your leadership, I trust. That's the foundation of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I trust that you're not just trying to flex authority. I trust that you're trying to get to the end goal here with as least amount of difficulty, turmoil, trauma, all of the BS,
Mm-hmm.
like, so even if I don't see your line of thinking or the end result, because I trust your leadership, I'm willing to listen to you, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't trust your leadership in a certain area if there's no experience there.
That's right.
So when I read this book, now I know it all. Nah, that ain't how it work, boss.
Right.
They, like you said before, on paper, I meet these credentials. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, I ain't getting okay. I
Mm-hmm.
have to go back and improve myself in whatever area. You
That's
do
right.
have to get the experience.
That's right.
And with that experience, I could tell you more than what this book is going to tell you,
That's right.
because now I could tell you personally the there's no testimony without the test. I could tell you the test. You know what I'm saying? I could show you what points you need to be studying on. I could give you my index cards and my notes that I took
Mhm. Mhm.
for you to be able to pass this test, man.
That's right. That's right.
So I love that, man. And there was a note here. I had left a note here because one of the things that I say is this old phrase keeps reigning more and more true the more I grow is you can lead a horse to water,
Mhm.
but you can't make them drink.
Right.
So as much as you, because I know your friends and you know your situations, I know that you was like you said, you can tell them and tell them and tell them. I know you was telling them good stuff. I know you was telling them right from wrong. I know you was there, you know, sharing that enlightenment, but it just won't happen. One of the things that you said is you can't give steak to a baby.
Right. That's
Can
right.
you explain that phrase?
Absolutely. The way the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it this way, right? You have to graduate a person up to a certain knowledge, right?
Mhm.
You can't just drop a heavy truth on somebody.
Mm.
So it's kind of like I'll give it from this perspective, right? Someone that may have a drug addiction, right?
Mhm.
It's easy to say you need to stop doing drugs. This
Very
look at what it's
easy.
doing to your life. It's doing this. It's causing you relationship problems. It's causing this, that, and the third, right?
Very easy.
A better approach would be helping them see that they have a problem,
Mm.
right? So I'd rather give you the milk. I can talk about, um, give you examples of other people and how they are battling addiction, right? What it happens to them. So it doesn't become so personal,
Mhm.
right? It's heavy to just say, okay, this is what it's doing. Alcohol is doing to your liver and to your kidneys and going into the science of all of this, right?
Mhm.
It's another thing to just help the person see that, you know what, maybe I do have a problem,
Mm.
right? So the same thing with like heavy truths in general, right? Like I can the power that is in these teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, there's a lot of deep aspects of it, right? When we really
Mhm.
get into actual facts and understanding, how much square mileage is the earth and how much is the land and how much is the water. And I can tell you all of that. But what good would that do you if you don't know your place in it all, right? So you have to be able to know where to start with people. And many things that we want to share. And that's one thing why book knowledge and experience have to be married to each other. Because if I just read a book, right? Like I can just read the Quran, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I know that it's good. I know that it's good for you. I know that it's something that there's value in it for you.
Yeah.
But me just reading this to you and not be able to give you any context to what I'm reading,
Mm.
are you able to really be able to gather it and move forward, right?
Right.
And I'm saying that to say that many times and oftentimes, right?
Mhm.
Whenever anyone is sharing, and I say this for myself, right? Whenever I'm sharing certain things with individuals, I have to be able to look at things from their perspective. If you've
Mm.
never heard the concept or the reality of God, right?
Right.
I can't just drop on you all of the facts,
Mhm.
right? I need to gradually bring you up to the realization of it, right?
Right.
So you got to start with small things, right? That's why, first thing I said in here, three knowledges that we need is the knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of the devil, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you the basis of the reality of God when I say that the knowledge of God and knowledge of self is one and the same
Mhm.
without laying this heavy truth on you. You see what I'm saying? Now I can come straight out and just say, God is a man, right? If
Mhm.
you've never heard that concept, it could be too much for you right now. And
Right.
now you're gonna reject the whole thing.
Premise, yeah, that,
You see
yeah.
what I'm saying? But if I just slowly bring you up to an understanding who you are, once you get to realize, okay, you made in the image and likeness of God, and well, image means the appearance,
Mhm.
likeness, the attributes, the qualities, the traits, right? I'm warming you up. I'm gradually bringing you up to the concept of understanding that God is a man, a supreme being, just like you're a human being. God is the supreme being,
Yeah.
right? So able to exhibit these attributes at the highest level of wisdom, supreme wisdom. You know,
Yes.
a God is force and power, so the God must have is supremely able to exhibit that force and power to say be and it is. You can create things, but you're
Mhm.
not the creator,
Hello.
right? There's a difference,
Mm.
right? But that's not something you don't start the conversation that way. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that's for me, that's where that concept of being able to give people steak. Not you don't want to give a baby a steak, right?
Right.
So in certain all of us are babies in certain knowledges, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if anybody is striving to teach you anything, if they just laying all the information out to you at the beginning, you're not going to receive any of it. That's why curriculums are the way they are, because they just giving you a little bit at a time. You go through
Mhm.
like the way that the public school system set up, each grade lays a foundation for the next grade. What you learn in kindergarten is laying the foundation for what you need in first grade, and so
Yep.
on and so forth, all the way up. In college, I mean, excuse me, the 12th grade is laying a foundation for you to be able to go to college, because once you have all of this,
Yeah.
now you're prepared to handle what you're going to handle in college, right?
Right.
So that's the same thing when you're sharing certain things with people. Though you may be well intentioned, though you may know the value of it, you still got to be patient with people and gradually bring them up to where you want them to go, because it's so new to them, they'll instantly reject it, just like vegetables to a baby too.
Yeah.
You know they need the vegetables, but you got to give it to them as a baby. You got to make it puree first. You can't just give them the broccoli in its natural
Okay.
state. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? No, you got to give it to them in the puree. You might got to put it with something else that's a little sweet to kind of warm them up to it. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So that's really where that concept comes from, and why for me that's why I strive to keep that in the forefront of my mind. Though I am aware of these teachings, I understand the gravity of them too. So I
Yeah.
can't just drop heavy truth on somebody. I got to take my time with them and meet them where they're at. You know,
Mm.
one of the things that in the Bible, Jesus was speaking on. I think I don't know if it's Jesus or was it Paul, but either way, I'll just say this: in the Bible, it says, when in Rome, you got to speak like the Romans. You got to speak their language. I
Mm.
can't talk to my brother that's in the streets way up here.
Yeah.
I need to be able to make. I got to break it down for him to understand.
Right.
And the way I talk to someone in the streets is not the way I talk to somebody that may have went to Harvard or Yale. I got to be able to now give to them a certain way.
Mhm.
And having that individualistic approach with everybody is how you're able to get our people, regardless of what they've been through. I can't talk about, the streets to somebody that's never experienced the streets. And I can't talk about the streets to someone, I can't talk about corporate America for someone who's never been in corporate America, right?
Right.
I have to be able to tailor what I'm saying to the individual
Mhm.
and be able to meet them where they're at, but introduce them to concepts in a way that now you can relate it. I can relate it to you, but I'm not gonna just
Mhm.
drop it on you thinking that you already understand. I know you don't understand because you told me that that's not your background, right? That's something that's new to you. So I have to be able to have patience and warm you up to it, or gradually bring you up to that truth versus just dropping it on you and making you then repel it. Ultimately, you won't receive nothing that I'm saying because you feel like you may internally feel like, well, this person think they above me, so I ain't hearing nothing they gotta say. But if
Mhm.
I meet you where you at, then you're gonna trust me to go along this journey because okay, if that makes sense, I want to hear more what he got to say. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
slowly bring you up to where we may be striving to go.
Come on now. I love it. And another thing about that, what stood out to me about like walk what you talk, um, I've experienced that. I was one who saw a suit and saw a sellout, right?
Mm.
I saw a sellout. I saw a salesman was a con artist. I
Mhm.
saw all of these things that was, mental manipulation until I realized that no, I actually want to be one who can put on a suit. And
Mhm.
then it was like self-limiting beliefs like, okay, my father's not in my life. I haven't had a man show me how to tie a tie or none of this stuff.
Mm.
So all of these things,
Mhm.
just like just these self-limiting beliefs kept me from just being able to own and get a suit,
Mhm.
so much of what I don't know. But I knew in my heart that the epitome of the appearance of a man in a suit, I wanted that.
Mhm.
I wanted that. I was like, yo, like, I think I would look good.
Mhm.
And not only that, but I would feel good. Right? It's a certain aura that that man possesses I'm visualizing and I'm
Mhm.
seeing myself as. And at the same time, I've been that person. I'm battling myself like, you
Mhm.
not that. You can't be that.
Mm.
But if it came to mind, God put this thought
Mhm.
in your head. Why? Why?
That's right. That's
Right?
right.
So yes, you can. And I went through a whole lot of that, unraveled that until recently. I got my first suit, like actual suit, and got it tailored. I went to the tailor recently. Now I know them on a first name basis. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? You know, appointment. I don't need no appointment. I walk in,
Mhm.
because we good.
Mhm.
I know textures. I know a lot now because, I taught myself, but it was a process. I had to walk what I taught, right? I felt like I couldn't wear a suit because I didn't see myself good enough to,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
right? And once I built the belief in myself, it led to me acting on what I now believe and hold true.
Mhm.
Now I have several suits. It was my birthday this past Thursday, and that was one of the things I gifted to myself. You
Mm.
should celebrate yourself, by the way. For people who are out there, you should reward yourself every now and then for your good acts. Um, I got myself a new suit, right?
Mhm.
Now I say all of that because I also had the same experience where I was in a leadership position, management position, but y'all know me, I'm gonna lead. I don't lead with authority. I lead with true intent.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a guy, he randomly, like, he's seen, the podcast, he's seen AIM, he's seen, like, we done had a few conversations, and he randomly came to me one day and was like, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, you here, you're not doing what you're supposed to
Mhm.
be doing. But yeah, so what is it that you're feeling? I said, what is it that you want? He was like, man, truth be told, I want to be one of those shop guys, bro. I love to see the look of a suit. I said, do you have a suit? Knowing where this is headed,
Mhm.
I said, do you have a suit? He's like, I don't own a suit. Nah, I don't
Mm.
got a suit.
Mhm.
Like, well, that's where we're gonna start at. I said,
That's
no, if you trust me enough to be able to come to me with this, then trust me enough to say, hey, I'm with you. Right? I didn't
right.
have no male guidance towards this.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, when I finally stepped off the curb, so to say, and went to go get tailored, I asked other guys and I looked around, did my own research. This one had the best reviews. I went in there and it was not busy. It was one other person in there. They was not managing, they was not tending to this other person. So I'm literally the only customer.
Right.
It's another black guy who is monitoring the store. And I go to him and I tell him, I say, man, I want I'm green here. I don't know what I'm looking for. He's like, what you looking for? I don't know, bro. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I need it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Help me out. And at first, it was that tension,
Mhm.
between us two. At first, it was like you gonna make me work. And then it was like the tough love that
Mhm.
we are comfortable giving as men, we give each other tough love. A lot of times we
Mhm.
don't need that, but it's what we understand, right?
Mhm.
So he was like, all right, pulled out the tape measure. It's like, this is what you need. Every suit needs this, this, this. And he just gave it to me. And I was like, yo, I'm taking it all. I don't like your attitude, but I'm taking it all.
Mhm.
And like he took my measurements and I was able to take my measurements and run with it. Right. I found another tailor, because I pay attention to attitude, but I was so grateful that this other black man was willing to take out his time to show me what I've been looking for since a youth. This
Mhm.
just happened in 2021 because I had to I was like I was getting married. This was for my wedding, and I was like, I got to show up the way I want to. I gotta be the man that I aspire to be for
Mhm.
this woman. I'm telling you, the woman is like we talked about it earlier, how she's sacred and how
Mhm.
she's second closest to God, and she's the one that's gonna challenge you. A lot of my self-development came from my woman. I need to be better for her. I need to be more equipped for her. I'm actually protecting her. Like I love her. It might seem like I love her more than myself right now, but she was the vessel for me to love myself even more, to realize, yo, you're more capable than what your limiting beliefs say.
Mhm.
Um, Rewind going back to the suit now. I took that, I took those measurements and went crazy. Now I got let's see, I got 5 suits and I got a few pair of pants, a few different blazers, a few, what I'm saying, a few
Mhm.
pieces here and there, and then I got some complete pieces. I got like a drawer full of ties. I know how to do the bow tie manually. I know how to tie a
Mhm.
tie and a bow tie. Um like, I just went crazy with it, bro. I was like, "Yo," and I was so thankful, and I was loving myself so much that I knew what this guy was saying to me when he said he wants to be in the suit, but he does not see himself there yet, and I was like, "Yo."
Mhm.
Blessings, bro. Because oh my goodness. I do wanna, check in with him, but I do know that, hey, you plant the seed. So I
Mhm.
told him, if it's what you see for yourself, his issue, and mine was too, a lot of us could identify with this, is I want to look like that, but who is that person that's gonna be approached like that? Who is that person that appears that way?
Mhm.
What does that person do? Like, I work in a warehouse. I don't see myself wearing a suit outside of here. I work in a warehouse. Okay, well, put on a suit
There
and
you go.
you know what I'm saying, see what this does to your mentality. This what you do for you, how you appear, how you love yourself,
Mhm.
right? Because dressing, your appearance is your calling card. Is how you're signaling to the world this is what you think of yourself,
There you go.
right? How you're doing that will trigger the right thoughts. This is one of the ways that you could trigger the right thoughts for you to put
Mhm.
you in that position,
Mhm.
to put you in, manifest whatever it is that, that person that you aspire to be, your true self, your higher self, the God within self. You
There
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
There
And
you
I
go.
was like, yo, that I just wanted to share that account when it came to walking that talk and like my experience with the whole suit thing. Like you said,
Mhm.
you had a brother that like I can't tell him, bro, just go get a suit. Yeah, that don't make sense if I'm not one who, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But if he see me, he saw me
Mhm.
somewhere. He saw me. I think I was at that time, I think I went to like it was a gala. It was a black it was a shout out to the Afro Wellness magazine. I was featured in the Afro Wellness magazine for their first article, and they had a gala to celebrate. And me and wifey showed up with it's a gala, it's a black hey, we showed up,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Man, I wanna be able to do stuff like that." Got it, bro.
There you
So
go.
putting that clean glass to the dirty one.
That's to what you just said right there, because we when we invite individuals to come out to our mosque, right?
Hmm.
One of the most common things, and it may be mostly with our sisters, right? But anyone typically, well, I don't have a suit, or I don't know, do I have to cover my hair, and do I got what I gotta wear, right?
Hmm.
We invite you to come out. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times in our own head, we feel like we're not good enough to be
Hmm.
in certain environments, right? And
Absolutely.
that's one thing that I'm glad you said that, because that becomes a lot of of our impediments when it comes to growing and self improving and really activating that God within self. But we don't believe that uh, we actually deserve to be in certain rooms, or we don't deserve to be treated a certain way.
Mm.
We won't even allow it to exist. So like that's one thing that I would encourage anyone. I come across a lot of people who love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who love the teachings and love what we stand for, right? But they're like,
Hmm.
well, I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, I mean, y'all discipline. I don't. So my only question is, what makes you think you're not qualified? Because everybody that you see doing it, they all then came from different backgrounds, and if you were to just if you only look at what you see as what you need to already be, that's the whole thing, right? Like,
Right.
you don't you don't take a shower before you get in the bath. You just get in the bath. You see what I'm saying? Like, you just go ahead and you gotta, if you want to get cleaned up, you don't go get clean to go get cleaned up. You see what I'm saying? That's the
Hmm.
whole thing, and that's one thing that I would just encourage anyone. Whether it's whether you whatever your spiritual journey is, and if you striving to get go to church, and or if you want to get under these teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's taught by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it- just start.
Just
And the
start.
first thing that you can do is just have a conversation with somebody, or just go see for yourself. That's one thing. Like I said, what I always encourage individuals to do, if you want to know about the Nation of Islam, come for yourself and see for yourself. You'll realize that all these misconceptions and things that you said in your own mind,
Mm.
that you may think that, well, I don't know, I ain't stopped smoking this, and I ain't stopped doing that. Okay, I mean, you can't bring it in the mosque with you, but ain't nobody telling you what to do. We just want you to hear the word, hear what we got to say, be in this environment. Because that's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. Just be in the environment and see if you feel a difference than what you used to. And if you do, that's between you and God. That's one thing that I was sharing that with a brother earlier today.
Mm.
This is not about, you don't have to commit to anything. You may be asked if you would like to learn more and do these type of things, but you can say no. Ain't nobody gonna beat you up because you
Right.
say no. You know what I'm saying? That's your choice. It's between you and God. The main thing is that we just want you to come here for yourself. And if you do like what you hear, just keep coming back. And you don't have to show up in a suit. You see what I'm saying? Come as you are. Now, once you get under these teachings, you just can't stay as you are, but that's
Hmm.
naturally gonna happen. That happens on its own. No one has to tell you, to clean yourself up. Make sure you get your nice clean haircut, and make sure you clean, wash yourself and things like that. No one has to tell you that. You're gonna naturally, the more you begin to learn about yourself,
Mm.
your value of yourself goes up. And the more you value yourself, you're gonna now want your appearance to reflect that what you know about yourself.
Come
Right?
on now.
So that's just like what you were saying about that suit. If you know that in your mind, I wanna be you, basically that's really what it's saying. I want to be like somebody who wears a suit.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to be in that environment of people that kind of forces you to put a suit on. And
Yeah.
then the more
Yeah.
that you do it, you realize, okay, I got the suit on now. I might need to let me get my hair a certain way. I mean, I might just need to give me, if you got dreads or locks or whatever. Okay, let me just give me a lineup, because I want to make sure that I'm looking better in this suit. Then eventually you might get to the point. Okay, let me style this a little bit. I don't
Mhm.
want it to be all over the place. I kind of want it to be more clean looking. You just gonna naturally do that based off the environments that you put yourself in. But a lot of times you just got to get in the room. And
So true.
sometimes you might get in the room, you might not have a full suit. You might just got some dress pants and a dress shirt. You might not even have a necktie yet.
Hmm.
But let me just get in here and see how I feel. Because what's gonna happen is you are gonna come across that brother or that sister, regardless of what your background is, that's gonna be able to give you those pointers that you wouldn't have got if you didn't go in the room.
Uh.
Your first suit, you may get a suit, you may not know all your measurements to the T, but you get your first suit. Then next thing you gonna get around somebody who went through that same thing or getting a used suit or whatever from a thrift store or whatever. And they say, yeah, brother, find you a suit that's like this.
Mm.
You want your shirt to go here. You want your tie to make sure your tie is matching this, or you want your belt to match your shoes. You may not know these things at the beginning, but if you reject or limit yourself from even getting in the room, you won't get those pointers that you wouldn't get on your own.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So that's for me. And you bringing that up, that's so important. Because many people, they feel like, well, I don't deserve to be in certain spaces. No,
Mm.
you deserve to be in those spaces because you thought about it. You already qualified. You see what I'm saying? But don't disqualify yourself by not showing up. You know what I mean? So that's what I would encourage anybody, regardless of what it is that you're striving to endeavor. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to get into a new industry. You might be have done a certain career for a long time, and you want to start another one. If you got the thought, you already qualified to move over to that, to make that
Mhm.
transition. So just go ahead and embrace it, and then be okay with making mistakes. That's one thing I wanted to share on this platform as well, is understanding that a mistake, we're taught in these teachings that mistakes shouldn't exist. That doesn't mean that they don't happen,
Right.
right? It just means that when they do happen, you learn from them, and they don't exist because you are going to do whatever it takes to correct it, so
Right.
that you don't repeat the mistake. Right? So don't be afraid to make it though. Don't
Mm.
don't don't make yourself don't try to make yourself perfect. Well, I don't want to make a mistake, and then you find yourself not doing anything. Because that's a mistake
Mhm.
in itself. Now you're not even taking action. So take action, do something. If you make a mistake, all praise is due to Allah. Now I know what I need to do. Now I know what I
Right.
need to change. That's what I need to improve on. So like I said, with that, like I said, I love that you were being transparent right there as well, because we've all been in those experiences, whether it's a suit or a new job or
Mm.
trying to make new friends and new environments. We disqualify ourselves when we were already qualified to begin with, because we had the thought, the idea, we had the urge, the compulsion to want to go do it. So let's just embrace it and move forward, and you'll find that once you take that step, you automatically, everything else starts taking steps toward you. One
Mm.
last thing I say on that as well, like even when it comes to God, you take one step to God, He'll take a step towards you. Right? The Quran puts it in a way that in certain areas of it, you take one step toward God, He'll make 100 paces toward you.
Mm.
Right? So a lot of times we just got to initiate the process.
Mm.
Even I've seen a quote. Sometimes you got to do it afraid, right? But the main
Yeah.
thing is that you got to do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You got to take some action. You can't just think your way into a circle. No, you got, and that's you know we use these trendy words, laws of attraction and
Mhm.
manifestation, and yeah, but all of that still requires you to do something. You see
Act.
what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to, and that's part of that reality of God, and understanding that there's no mystery to this thing. You ain't gonna just pray and, oh, I need some food today, and it's just gonna fall out the sky. That has never happened. No, you gotta pray, and then you gotta get up and go do something about that prayer so that you can make something happen. Because otherwise, you're gonna be sitting there waiting until you fall out. You know what I mean? So taking action, and mostly taking action for do something for yourself.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's really, like, when it comes to doing for self, yeah, it is an economic thing as far as starting your own business and helping your people and doing things like that. But the first act is doing something for yourself, meaning I need to take some initiative in my life to change my condition. No
Boom.
one's gonna change my condition before I change my own. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So that's a beautiful point that you were bringing out as well when it comes to that example of a suit. The first thing you got to do is you got to go get size first.
Hmm.
You can want a suit all day. You're gonna end up not wanting the suit because you refuse to get some assistance in that. But that's the first thing you gotta do. Let me get the right size. Let me get the right measurements. I'm not gonna
Right.
allow the way this person was talking to me to stop me from getting to my end goal. He gave me my measurements. Now I can take my measurements to somebody that's going to handle me that much better, and I can move forward.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom, bro.
So,
Mr. West, Brother West,
yes.
beautiful. I want to ask you a question. If you were broadcast on a live or just in front of an audience of 1 billion viewers,
Hmm.
what would be your one message you would want to share with the world?
Um, I mean, I kind of feel like that right now. I feel like 1 billion people will see this one day by the grace of Allah.
Yes,
Um,
Lord.
outside of everything else that I've already said, the main thing that I would share is, if you haven't started your path of self improvement,
Mm,
begin.
mm,
If you've started it, don't stop. You want to constantly be looking for room for improvement. Like I said, if you haven't started your process, get started now. Even if it's just picking up a book and reading something.
yes.
If you asking me, the first book every black man and woman should pick up should be Message of the Black Man in America, right? Get a basis for who you are, right? I would say start there. And then beyond that, I would say learn something, like take those necessary efforts to really analyze yourself. Three things that in our study course, self-improvement, the basis for community development, is self-examination, self-analysis, and self-correction. Examine yourself, study yourself, then analyze it. Look at the data and then see, okay, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are my opportunities for growth. This is something that is a strength of mine, but let me see if there's more room for me to improve on it, right? If you can get to that point of beginning your journey, and then after you've began the journey, to stay on that journey, you'll find yourself getting to a level where you continue to be better. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. That becomes the beauty of life, and understanding that improvement can always be made. So I would just encourage anybody, if I was on a platform like I am right now,
Yeah.
being broadcasted out to 1 billion people, stay on the path. Get on the path. If you're not on it, get on the path of self-improvement. Then stay on the path of self-improvement. Because one of the things that's beautiful about knowledge is that it's endless.
Mm.
And the moment you think you got it all is the moment that you lost it all. So you're always looking for opportunities to learn. You're always going to find an opportunity to grow. That goes back to think, learn, grow, right?
Mm.
Um, always look for something that you can do to be able to improve yourself, because ultimately, if you're improving yourself, you can improve others around you. Because the more changes that you make in your life, the more changes that you're making in other people's lives, because as you elevate, you're bringing somebody else up with you. We've said it indirectly and directly, but someone is always watching you. You don't know
Mm.
who's being inspired by your path and your journey, right? So if
Right.
you're working on yourself and you're growing, someone else is growing too along with you. They may not outwardly say it, they may not like your videos and pictures on Instagram, but they watching, they
Mm.
paying attention. And one day you're gonna come across that person. They're gonna say, brother, sister, I've been watching you, and when you did this right here, man, that changed everything. When you said this, oh man, that really impacted me. You see what I'm saying? I had it happen today. It's certain things I don't pay attention to, because I don't do it for the gram, as they say.
Right.
I don't do it
Right.
for the views and the likes and all that. It's something that I share. A lot of things I share on social media, I'm sharing it because it's something that I took something away from, right?
Mm.
If I'm sharing a lecture from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it's because it's a lecture I was just watching. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I was just watching it, and it helped me get through whatever I was going through at that moment. So I wanted to share it with somebody else. If it helps somebody else, all praise is due to Allah. If it doesn't help anybody else, at the moment, all praise is due to Allah, because ultimately I didn't share it for you to click a like button, if me to get a bunch of followers or nothing like that. No, I'm sharing it because ultimately it's a reminder. Because even me, sometimes I go back on certain things I posted because I need to hear it again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't do it. I don't do it for the gram. I don't do it for the likes. I don't do it for the views. I'm doing it because I genuinely want to help other people. And a part of that, of me helping other people, is helping myself and growing. And if I'm working on myself, I'm able to help somebody else work on themselves because they'll see the importance that they have for themselves as well. So get on the path of self improvement. And if you're already on it, stay on it and don't let anything take you away from that path of self improvement, because we that's how we're going to develop our communities, is
Mm.
all working together and working on ourselves.
Preach, bro. Preach. Now, when we was discussing this, you said that you had gave me the notion that you have two wolves inside of self. Can you elaborate on what does that mean and discuss like, yeah, what does that mean? What does it mean to have two wolves inside?
Yes, sir. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave that example from what he learned from our Native American family, right?
Mm,
Um, the same concept of that what we were speaking about earlier about that God within self and that devil within self. The way that our Native American family articulates that is that you have two wolves within self,
mm,
right? And the one that wins is the one that you feed the most,
mm,
right?
mm, mm.
So the same thing with that God and that devil within self. Like those two things, they exist. It's about what you actually allow to that you submit to, or what you feed, right? You can
Right.
feed that lower version of yourself and you'll manifest that. That'll be displayed in your character. That'll be displayed in your actions and how you treat other people.
Mm,
Or you can lean or feed that God within self, that higher level of self, right? That high vibrating part of yourself, right?
mm-hmm.
That is really what that concept is about. They both exist. The way movies and cartoons kind of depicted, you say they got like the devil on one side, the angel on the other side, like that battle within self, but it's still the same person. It's still
Yes,
you,
it's still you.
and understanding that what are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to that devil within that's creeping up, whispering in your ear, telling you, you don't really gotta, you can eat that, or you can do that. You don't have to work out today. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Or you gonna let that person talk to you like that? You know what I'm saying? You know what you can do. You know how you used to live. You don't ain't let nobody play with your name. Now you let people playing with your name. Or you can listen to that God within self, and really that higher version of yourself is always gonna lead you in the right direction. Now you can choose to silence it. You know what I'm saying? Because that'll happen as well. That self is what it's called is that self-accusing spirit, right? That
Mm,
self-accusing spirit within yourself tell you, man, you don't need to do that. You
mm.
don't you ain't gotta tell that lie. You know what I'm saying? Like why you want to lie to them? What are they? Who are they that you need to lie to them? Who are they that you need to steal from them, or that you need to go get outside your body, as it says? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
no, you can talk to either one is talking, both of them talking, and one of the ways that I believe the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it this way: anytime that you go to do something good, there's something a bad. Anytime you think of something good, a negative thought comes up right behind it, right?
Yeah.
So now the question is, which one you gonna let win,
Mm.
right? Are you gonna submit to that negative thought, that devilish thought, or are you gonna submit to that godly thought, that high vibrating thought, that righteous thought, right? So that's really what goes back to that those two wolves within self. You know, it's only one force, but it's the way that you're gonna um utilize it or express that is either you're going to express it from your lower nature or your lower desires, or you're going to express it from your godly self, your higher self. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's really what the root of what that is. And like I said, that is from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, just speaking and being amongst our Native American family, and that's the way they articulate um basically that God or devil within self.
I like that. I like that because I was dissecting, I was acknowledging this about myself, and I think all of us do this, but we label it like, "Oh, I'm introverted and whatnot." But I think all of us do this where you say there's an event coming up,
Mhm.
right? Or a task that you planned. When it comes near time for the task to be done, you thinking like, "I don't feel like doing I
Mhm.
ain't in the mood no more. I'm kinda
Mhm.
tired. If I just had a few more hours," and all of these things just start to pop up, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I've like, recently, we talked about momentum in the meeting, this day and all of that. I've had a lot of momentum here. I've been disciplined and, like, it's been rolling. Things have been
Mhm.
rolling here, and y'all have seen the content and all of what's going on, and I thank everybody who has participated in the growth. Um, but I realized, like, I'm doing Mindset Mondays at 6:30 in the morning.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like, "Yo, it's my day off. Do I really wanna" Oh,
Mhm.
I'll still get up and do it at 6:30. Like, those
Mhm.
thoughts will come, and they come with strength,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's you to you, and it's like, you sound good. You
Mhm.
sound good. You know what?" And then a lot of us choose that, like, "You know what? Forget it," and then what you don't realize is that you're quitting on yourself.
That's right.
You're not betting on yourself. You're alleviating that when you choose to not be disciplined, you're giving up on you.
Mm.
And now we talking about the God within self. You're silencing God. What?
Mhm. That doesn't sound good, even when you say it out loud, like, "I'm silencing God?" Like, wow.
Mm,
Wow. You know,
mm.
the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I don't mean to cut your wisdom,
You
but
good.
the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, teaches us in the study guides, right? It was just reminded to us the other day, on Wednesday, right?
Right.
Whenever we, don't face difficulty,
Mm,
I'm paraphrasing. Whenever we don't face difficulty, there's a deterioration of our character and a destruction to our will, right?
mm,
And then the total opposite happens when we face difficulty, because the more we face difficulty, the stronger that we build our character, and the stronger and the more that we build up our will to do things that we want to do. So anytime that we submit to that whisper in our mind, like, no, you ain't really got it, you've been doing good for 7 days, brother, you ain't gotta get up early. You ain't gotta go do this. Mindset. You been doing Mindset Monday for the last 2 months. You ain't
mm.
gotta do it today. You know what I'm saying? But the more that you do it, you build those reps. Eventually, that voice gets quieter. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? The same way it goes the opposite direction, right? The more you listen to that lower self, the quieter
Mm,
God gets. To
mm,
the point where He's not even present in you anymore at that point, right?
mm.
You're now only operating off your lower self, and that becomes comfortable,
Ooh,
right?
ooh, ooh.
So just understanding that difference, and really the gravity of that decision, right? When you really tap in and do, and that's one thing about discipline. Discipline is doing what you know you should do, even when you don't want to do it, right?
Yes.
When you overcome that difficulty. I know for me, like, I like to run in the mornings, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of mental blocks that show up when you working out, right?
Absolutely.
You might be telling yourself, I'm tired, I didn't worked out and did this, I already ran 2 miles, but if you came out and said I was gonna run 3, and you at that 2.5, you can be like, in your mind, you might tell yourself, you did good.
Mm.
You did 2.5, you didn't sweat, you didn't did this, that, and the third. Yeah, but the goal was to do 3. So which one you gonna listen to? 9 times out of 10, your body ready to go. Your body will keep
Yes,
going. It's that battle of
absolutely.
the mind, though. And
Mm,
really, a lot of times you battling with your own insecurities about yourself. And the more
mm.
resilient you become with understanding that that's not me.
Ooh.
That version of myself that's talking and telling me that I can stop, or that I didn't did enough, that's not really me. That's an illusion. And the
Mm.
more that you begin to look and say, you know what, no, that's not what it is. Like, so for us, like, we fast, we do a lot of fasting, right? Like Ramadan, we fast for 30 days, what we don't eat during the daylight, right?
Yeah.
So you might your stomach rumbling and things like that. Those first couple of days is kind of rough. because the other 11 months out of the year you've been eating, hopefully you haven't, but many of us do. You eating whenever you want to. You hungry, you go eat, right? So
Right.
now that you're in a position where you're submitting to not eating during the sunlight hours or the daylight hours, your body like, well, we used to eating around this time, right? So now you got to have that battle with yourself and say, no, we're not putting nothing in here.
Yeah.
The more you do it, your body begins to say, you know what, I ain't getting nothing at this time, so I might as well go ahead and be quiet.
Mm.
But if you submit to it, if you bow down to that, you end up having so much guilt with yourself. And that's
Yes.
one of the worst things to have, when you upset with yourself because you know you can do better,
Mm.
especially if you've done better before. Like for me, I lost a lot of weight at one point, right? So I gained some weight back, right?
Mm.
And oftentimes, and that's something that you got to give yourself grace. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, you'll find yourself resenting yourself, right? You
Mhm.
start beating
Yeah.
yourself up mentally, emotionally, right? And
Right.
then you just continue to self sabotage, right? But when I bring that point up, and I don't mean to say but because I'm not negating what I was saying before, but however, one of the most important things to understand is that discipline comes along with patience, right?
Ooh.
So if you are willing to be disciplined, that means you also have to be patient with yourself to understand that there's an end result that I'm gonna get to, that my discipline, it may not show up tomorrow, but if I do this long enough and I don't give up on myself, like you said, if I don't give up on myself, that
Mhm.
I'm going to get to my end result. And when I get to my end result, I'm still not gonna stop my discipline. And now I gotta exhibit another level of discipline to maintain that result. Because that's one thing about success. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. So once you
Mhm.
acquire certain goals, that means once I hit this goal, I need to set another one. These are different checkpoints that's going to get me along the way. You don't stop setting goals until you transition out of this world. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You should
Yeah.
always be looking for something else to achieve and stretch yourself and challenge yourself.
Yes.
But that's what for me, that's what helps me so much, is understanding that we are made to face difficulty, that with difficulty comes ease, that the Holy Quran teaches as well.
Mm.
Understanding that these things go together, like things being difficult and things being made ease, not easy, but having ease, meaning that the more that I do this, the easier it becomes to stick with it. It may
Yes.
not become easy from the standpoint of second nature, but if I stick with this and I keep facing the difficulty, it doesn't build up within me that resentment that I can have, where I'm like, man, why is this happening to me? I'm
Mm.
understanding that the struggle that I'm going through is ordained by God. There's a purpose in this. He's allowing me to go through this, and that's one thing that's big about understanding how God works. Right, things that happen, there are no coincidences. It's either happening by His permission, or He's actively putting you through that to bring that God out of you.
Mm.
And understanding that when we look at the certain struggles that we go through, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in business, finances, health and wellness, whatever it may be, even when you talk about self-development, those
Mhm.
struggles that we go through, if we look at those struggles as there's a means to an end, that me going through and facing this struggle is only going to help me bring that God out of me that much more, we'll be able to take it as with stride and say, you know what? I'm with that. I'm actually
Mm.
made to face difficulty. The Holy Quran says that certainly man is made or created to face difficulty. So if I'm already built for it. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this, and I close on this point. He says that whether we know it or not, there's 14.7 pounds of pressure put on us as every day while we outside, right?
Right.
Reason why we don't feel it is because it's an equal amount of pressure on the inside pushing outward. So it
Mm.
balances. So the same thing with our spirituality, right? The more we take in, right? If we're putting in more high vibrating energy, meaning that knowledge of self, we're getting that truth that we get from the Bible, from the Quran, these life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that is going to balance out the pressures of this world, right? Because we're gonna
Right.
get pressures from this world. But if we got
Mhm.
enough on the inside of us, meaning the knowledge, understanding, like go back, knowledge of self, knowledge of God, the knowledge of the enemy of God, knowledge of the devil, right? Once we have that, it balances out the pressure. So now we can handle it,
Mm.
right? So it doesn't become so overwhelming when you understand what you're dealing with, and then you understand that you got control over it, meaning that I can change my condition. I just need to get acquire the right knowledge. It's not that woe is me. Why me, God? Why is this happening to me? We can then get to the point of saying, why not me? You made
Why
me to
not?
handle it. I just need to get the information. Once I have the knowledge, now I can execute. This same thing that was stressing me out, which stress is just a sign of lack of being prepared.
Mm.
Once I understand, once I get the information, get the skill set, I can now be better prepared. I'm now not stressed about the situation that I'm in, and I'm able to execute a little bit better. And that difficulty that I was going through is now just shaping me to be stronger and be better in the long run.
Brother West coming with the gems, bro.
All praises due to Allah.
All praises.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, Lord. Man, I appreciate you more than you know, boy. Oh my goodness. We was created
Mm-hmm.
for all of what we go through. It's not life is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
That's right.
All of the testimonies that we had, we're talking about what we faced, the challenges that, found us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These opportunities to improve. When you say you want to improve yourself, please don't think that that's going to come easy.
Mm-mm.
Please don't think it's a simple concept. Ain't nobody say it was easy.
No, sir.
Like discipline is a simple concept. Ain't nobody say it was easy. If it was easy, everybody be doing it.
That's right. That's right.
Mm. To walk in faith footsteps,
Mm.
right? To be loving, like truly loving, it's not easy. To be able to oh my goodness, all of what we discussed tonight, none of these things are easy. They're simple,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the beauty of it is you was built for that.
That's right.
You are made to withstand and overcome. You are made to stand up and walk righteously. Hello.
That's right.
Hello. So I only got one more question for you, Brother West. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
With this audience, and I thank everybody who's been here. Y'all have been wonderful. I thank for all the comments. We accept all comments, whether we agree with them or not, and we handle things accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a platform for everyone to be able to voice their opinions, and we just want to be able to learn alongside one another because we're all always improving. Um, the only thing I got to ask for you, man, is with this beautiful audience, what would be your call to action? What do you want the audience to leave with tonight after this live?
The call of action will be accept your own and be yourself.
Them six
Um,
words.
that that's the only thing that I can ask anyone to do. In doing that, the self improvement comes along, right? Um, the knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of the devil comes along with that,
Yeah.
right? Um, be yourself, and
Mm.
that is easier said than done in a world of people who just show highlight reels, or they only show their best side. Like, to make sure you give my best side, right? They
Hmm.
only show you what they want you to see. They're not necessarily showing you the real story. They're not giving you the full context of how they got to where they are. They don't show you the so-called bad side or the behind the scenes, right? But
Hmm.
when you are being yourself, you're going to attract those that you attract your tribe, right?
Right.
You begin to attract those that you are called and chosen to help. Um,
Yes.
we spoke about it earlier today at the Rebuilding Men meeting, right?
Mhm.
You know, sheep know their shepherd,
Mhm.
and if you're trying to be somebody else, you're going to attract the wrong people to you.
Mm.
So when you're being yourself, you can attract those who can help you. You attract those that you can help.
Mm.
When you being yourself, you take the burden and the pressure off um, the illusions that you can create for yourself. And I say that just from firsthand basis. Like, it's easy to put a mask on, especially when everybody else is wearing one,
Mm.
right? But there's only that only gets you but so far, because eventually you got to take it off. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And once you do that, you've now built a facade for people that they trusted you in the mask. They may not necessarily like what's under the mask.
Mhm.
And if you don't like what's under the mask, you'll never want to take it off. So you could be sitting there sweating under it, and you developed a certain stench that would start to repel people. You see what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing I can call anyone to do, outside of getting on starting the journey of self-improvement and staying on the journey, getting knowledge of self. Yes, we definitely want to get that. But you won't get that if you don't know who you are. If you're not being yourself, you won't see any value in getting knowledge of self. You won't see any value of understanding the true reality of God, you know. So that's what I would just encourage anyone, and most importantly, with that call to action, you know, read those books by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. If you're not
Right.
sure where to get started, you know, get Message to the Black Man. Get Fall of America. Get Our Savior Has Arrived. Get those two powerful books, book one and book two of How to Eat to Live.
Yes.
Many of us, based off of our either lack of emotional stability or being able to manage emotions, we live to eat.
Yeah.
you know, and we live in a country that will continue to push food in front of us. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna make money from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But once we understand the proper foods to eat, um, and how it directly connects to the way that we think and the way that we think about ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves, the way we look at our environments. Once we understand that, it just opens up so much to us. So I would just, that call of action is accept your own and be yourself. You know,
Mm.
as I stated, you don't necessarily got to be a registered Muslim in the Nation of Islam. We all are Muslims. We were
Yeah.
already created that way. Like I said, remembering that Muslims are ones that are
Submit
submitting
their
their
will.
will to do the will of God. Islam is entire submission to the will of God. Once we get out of the semantics and thinking that being Muslim means being Arab, no, it ain't got nothing to do about being Arab. It's not about wearing a beard and having the turban
Yarmulke.
and wearing, yeah. It's not when we get out of this the showy display of things and is understanding the principles behind it and striving to live up to that. That's really the next part of it. It's one thing to look apart, but if you're not really living it, it don't hold any weight. So I just would encourage all of us, specifically the black man and black woman in America, just accept your own and be yourself, and just strive to stay on that path, stay on that course, and just unify. That would be the last thing. Get a Final Call newspaper, because in doing so, that's the beginning of unifying and understanding that whenever you support that Final Call newspaper, you're supporting yourself. One of the biggest initiatives that we were able to do this past Ramadan, we was able to feed over 60,000 people.
Mm.
And that was a big thing that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan wanted us to do. And we, when he asks us to do certain things, that's what we do. We move out on those instructions. And we're able to do things like that through what we're able to do with the Final Call newspaper. right? So whenever you are supporting that Final Call newspaper, you're helping us do that same thing. It's not just about selling the paper and all of that. Is we are actively working to change our communities and make them a clean, safe, and decent place to live. And a lot of that comes from just helping us be able to help one another and help clean each other up. Because the more knowledge I'm able to give you, you'll begin to see the problems that need to be fixed, and you start fixing them on your own. I don't have to go out there and pick up the trash in your neighborhood. Once you start seeing value in yourself and value
Mm,
in your brothers and sisters, you're gonna clean it up on your own. you know
come on.
but yeah, we got to unify, and a part of unifying is accepting your own, accepting your brother and your sister around you, and just being yourself. And the more that you become yourself, the more you begin to look at yourself the right way, the better things become in your community and your environment. So that would be my call to action, brother. Accept your own and be yourself. So,
Thank you, bro.
thank you. All praises due to Allah. I didn't expect for us to have a 3 hour conversation, beloved. But that's when you're striving to be yourself, you follow
Yeah.
your heart. You know what I'm saying? So I pray that something that I shared, you know, um, just know that I'm just striving to do my best, to share whatever has helped me. I pray that it was something that is impactful. If it's anything that I said that was not impactful, I'll take that. I'll take full credit for that. But if
Hmm.
it was something that I said that was impactful, that it does help somebody, give them an aha moment,
Hmm.
all praise is due to Allah. It is only through Allah, it's only through the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught and demonstrated by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that I have anything to share of value. Because it is through those teachings that I'm able to be where I'm at now. It is through my development of my personal relationship with Allah, God, that
Yeah.
has allowed me to be here at this moment in this present time, to be able to share this platform with you. So all of that, I give all the praises due to Allah for anything that anyone sees of value um, in me or in anything that I said. And I just continue to strive to be a servant, a brother, a student and a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and that's a key in that. I'm a striving student and a striving follower. I'm just striving to put my foot where he put his at,
Yeah.
because he's demonstrated the benefits of walking that straight path. You know what I'm saying? And it's not about being perfect. It's striving for perfection, that like you spoke on earlier, with a leader, is that you can trust. That's a leader, is someone that you can trust, that's going to guide you in the right direction. And I would just say, personally, in my life, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has not guided me astray. Anything that I've done that may be astray is on my own. It's
Mm,
me not being obedient, right? That's even before I came into the nation, right?
right.
Like, anything that has gone wrong in my life, that's because I was trying to take control and
Mm,
do it my way. That was me not submitting my will to do the will of God. So I have to take full blame for that. I can't blame God. I can't blame nobody else. I can't blame my parents. I can't blame my friends on why things aren't going the way they should go. I have to first look at myself and say, am I being obedient?
mm,
If I'm not being obedient, that's my fault. If I am being obedient and I'm going through some type of struggle, it's because God has a bigger picture at hand. And if he's the best knowing the best of planners, I have to submit to that and understand that there's a greater purpose in this. So
hello.
let me be patient and let me just go through that. So like I said, again, I pray that anything that I said of value, that it is received, and that all the praise goes to Allah for that. And anything that I say that may have been um, not taken the right way or said incorrectly, any mistakes made in what I said, I take full credit for that. And please let me know, because I don't want to be incorrect. I'm so big on correcting mistakes, and I ended on this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that correction leads to perfection. So I'm all for being corrected. If I'm wrong about something, please correct me, because I understand again that when I look at a black man, I'm looking at a black woman, I'm looking at God. So
Mm,
I'm not above anybody, and I'm not below anybody either. We all here to help each other. So
mm.
wherever I can be of service and wherever somebody can be of service in my life, I'm all open to it. So please, um, continue to do the right thing, and I'm gonna continue to strive to do the right thing as well. And let's just make our community a better place.
It don't get no more beautiful than that, man. I appreciate you, brother, for taking the time out. And I thank you. I thank you for being as passionate as you are. I appreciate and acknowledge your progress, your growth. I acknowledge, like you said, I've had the privilege to witness from here to there, from point wherever I started in your journey to where you are now and your continual development. I am loving it. I've been a true. I'm a witness. I'm a witness to it, and I can't thank you more. But I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you as well, brother. Like it's a full circle moment for me, because I am not. I put it this way: I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm
Right.
further than what I used to be. So I'm just happy to be on this path, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Um, and I pray never lose that passion,
Mm.
because it can become easy complacent.
Yeah.
It can become easy to get comfortable.
Mm.
You can stop doing certain things, and you can reach certain levels, and be able to get out of a certain part of your dead state and
Yeah.
get comfortable. Like, well, at least I ain't doing drugs, at least I ain't drinking. But that don't mean you stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just for me. That's what keeps me going. Is
Yes, sir.
just understanding that, what I'm doing is it has purpose. You know what I'm saying? So that's what keep me passionate about it, as well. And it comes out, and I just strive to continue to move in love and follow my heart, and understand that as long as I'm keeping my heart clean and keep working to clean it, my heart won't lead me in the wrong direction. You know what
There
I'm
you
saying? Because
go.
I'm not doing it with impure intentions.
Mm.
Strive to try to keep my heart pure, stay humble, um, and just pray that Allah continue to guide my steps. My thoughts and my words as well. That I can continue on this path, and I just encourage anyone to just begin that process, brother. It ain't necessary. You don't have to do what I'm doing, from a literal standpoint, but just begin, just walking and trying to improve your life and just do better, and you gonna help who you supposed to help.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you doing, like I said, I commend you, brother, because your these conversations are important, right?
Absolutely.
As you always say, you can't have community without communication, right?
Right.
And even community, a common unity, right?
Mm.
And that's one thing too about unity, is not uniformity, meaning we all don't need to be doing the same thing, looking the same way. But
Mm.
unity is all having the same common goal. How we get there, as long as we get into that goal, we all don't have to wear bow ties and suits and head pieces and long dresses and this, that, and the third. But if we all are striving to help one another, that's all we got to do. When we get to the other, once we get free, we can talk about differences. And right now, we ain't got time to talk about differences. We got to be focused on what we have in common, which is we all need to improve. We all need to do better, and we all have the same open enemy that's trying to stop us from progressing and
Mhm.
being free. We have the illusion of freedom, but we ready to be truly free. We got to come together and do things as a one, and then at that point, we can talk about the other stuff on the other end.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Love you, bro.
I love you too, bro. I appreciate your time, and I pray that I haven't, used too much of your time, brother.
Ain't
Because
no way. You don't have that power, man.
praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, bro. I'm definitely humbled, and I'm glad I was able to share this time and space with you.
Always, man. And we definitely, this is not the last time we're gonna see Brother West on this platform. And y'all stay in tune. I could share. We didn't even mention much about his podcast, uh, and I'll go into that spiel myself. But as of right now, bro, I just want to applaud you. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you for being here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes. I appreciate you as well, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. I'll be in touch. All right,
Yes, sir.
my man. Wow. Every time I'm just like amazed at the power that all of these people present. You have power. And if you want to be a part of this, you want to go live with me, you want to be on the Power of People segment, then please reach out to me. Social media right here. Comment. You can email me. All links in the description. But back to Brother West. Brother West has the podcast. He has the financial literacy. He strives for more home ownership. That is one of the largest assets that we are missing out collectively as a people. Um, so he actually has knowledge in that area, expertise in that area of home ownership, and niching it down to what it is that what's the starting point? Is this limiting belief, like unraveling the beliefs and then building you up to where, like, you see it, like it's obtainable. It's more than obtainable. All of the information now is like, the market is crazy and inflation and it's like, yeah, that is, and we got to take those factors into consideration. But that doesn't stop you from achieving your goal. Get with Mr. West. Uh, it, link in the description. You wanna purchase a copy of his book. What you could do is you can text the number. The number is in the description. My computer acted slow, so it's not giving me the information. 1 second. You text the number 804-221-6226. You text books to this number, and this is how you'll be able to get a copy of his book, The Three P's. All right. So much more. Anything that you would like to see that he has, for one, go subscribe to his YouTube channel, the Think, Learn, Grow. Okay. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Go to his pages, go to all of his links in the description. Thank you again, Brother Wes. I am Mr. West on on all social platforms. I am Mr. West. Go follow, subscribe, and man, I can't wait for the next one. This was so powerful, bro. Uh, y'all just stay tuned, man. Much love. If you have any comments, any inquiries, any questions, any topics that you would like to be discussed or us to dive on a little bit more, uh, if you have any, considerations about coaching, or you got any opportunities, anything, can't have community without communication. So just reach out, and it's easy as a conversation. It's as easy as a conversation. Okay. Much love to you all. Thank you all for still being here. Y'all all are amazing, especially on a Saturday night. And stay tuned. We got a lot more in store.